Hello guys and welcome to PUBG Mobile NSE, the Collegiate Championship. My name is Scoundrel. I'm joined by John Allen. You may recognize him from some of the PMCO stuff. He's a very, very practiced and established PUBG Mobile caster. I feel like we've got PUBG Mobile celebrities here in the chat today because we've got a PMCO player, but also John, you're joining us for casting. How are you, mate?
Yes, I brought my very own isolation hairstyle to the mix of it. Obviously, regretting not having gotten that done earlier, but you know, we've got to all make sacrifices in this time. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how the UK universities are shaping up and making sure that they, well, not making sure, but seeing how they've been taking on, maybe watching some of that PMCO action that you talked about earlier on. I know we've got a PMCO player, as you mentioned, a guy called Will. Seems to be streaking out ahead for his team. We'll see if he can carry the rest of his squad further.
Yeah, and as you were rocking the isolation haircut, I was rocking an isolation beard for a bit, but I had to get rid of it because it was getting very bad. Anyway, let's move on because we have lots of games to get through today. We'll kick it off with the standings from the previous weeks. We are now in week 4 of the standings, so we can see exactly how the teams are shaped up over the last 3. And you can see that University of West London, we kind of pegged them as the best team. They are currently streaking out ahead with a significant point lead over anybody else, 35 points in the bag for them over the second place team, which is PUBG Mobile KW. They are a team of PUBG PC players or semi-pro PC players who have come into PUBG Mobile. They're doing pretty well themselves, getting used to the mechanics of the game and are keeping themselves competitive. University of Kent, the team with Will, the PMCO player, and 3 guys he literally made download the game so that he could join this competition. And you can see One Man Army is carrying them to 3rd. And Oldham Ops, actually a pretty solid team over the last few weeks. They are there or thereabouts, 2 winner chicken dinners, but they've been very hit or miss, John, as you could probably tell, with 2 wins to their name being down in 4th. They'll either go hard or go home, and you can see the rest of the table shaping up. John, I know you're a big fan of Kingstonian.
Yeah, well, it's my hometown. It's where I went to school. It's where I grew up. It's actually where I am near currently. So it's kind of near to my heart, as it were, and I'm really glad to see that they're up in 5th. Speaking about, as you said, Oldham before, go hard or go home. From the points, you can see that's pretty much what we're seeing. 78 kill points, 69 placement points. That ratio speaks to an aggressive team, but a team that is aggressive and maybe falls short at those final hurdles and doesn't capitalize on those placement points that they're trying to achieve as much as some of their peers up towards the top end.
I'm actually keeping an eye on Heriot Watt and University of Stirling. In the first week, they were pegged as teams that could be dark horses for this competition. They had some experience in PUBG Mobile. They had a little way off, I think, getting into our top 3 right now. You definitely see sort of the leaders pulling out ahead. Now, if you're interested about how they attain these points, let's take a look at the sort of the point system, I guess. It's win gets you 20, all the way down to 12th, which will get you 1, and the remainder of the teams beyond 12th will get 1 as well. But they scale up based on your positioning, the top 3 getting the lion's share of the points available for placement, and then every kill that you get, or your team gets, will net you a single point. And this is pretty similar to professional PUBG point scoring system.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly what we were seeing from previous seasons of the PMCO. This breakdown does tend to work. A little bit of a difference around 9th, I believe, with the 3 and 3 for 9 and 10. But it shouldn't have too much variability there. In general, if you want to be one of those top teams, you're looking to be clearing 15 points a game on average. That's what you want to be if you're towards that top 5 area. Right at the top, though, that number 1 spot, if you're getting more than 20 on average, you're pretty much guaranteed to be there. Not a lot of teams can achieve that, so we're looking more towards the 18 mark for that top spot. And at the moment was West London that was able to do so. No one else quite nearly there.
Yeah, UWL doing a great job. Let's take a look at the schedule for today. It's very similar to the last week's. In fact, it's identical to the last few weeks. Erangel up first. That'll be our first map. But then we're going to move on to Miramar, Sandhawk, and Vikendi. We get the full spread of PUBG Mobile maps here. John, me and Snods, or Alex, I guess he's now, Alex Byfield, as he's now known. We talked about our favourites from this list. What are your favourites when it comes to kind of competitive PUBG action?
Competitively, I think Erangel is my absolute number 1 pick of a map for if I wanted to set up one competitive game, that's the one I'd choose. I think it has the best depth, the best variability, and I think it allows teams to really shine where they do shine. You can push towards playing a compound-based style. You can play rotationally a lot heavier, or you can go for those heavy gunfights, and you can adapt those to a lot of different situations. Whereas when you look at the other maps, they do really focus in on one thing. You know, Miramar, it's those rotations. Vikendi, it's those compounds, and Sanhok, well, that's all out bloodthirsty action.
Yeah, I think I'm in your boat. I like Erangel. It's just the perfect blend of PUBG Mobile skill and, I guess, brain power when it comes to tactical rotations. You can be rewarded for compound play, you can be rewarded for gun skill, and you can be rewarded for the way that you approach your rotations across the map. I think Miramar is really, really cool in sort of high-level professional play, and then, yeah, like you said, Sanhok is just all-out bloodthirsty. You know, it's pure gun skill, who can get the shots off, and then Vikendi very compound heavy, so it can sometimes appear a bit slow, but it gets very hectic towards the end, which is what I like about Vikendi sometimes. Right, let's move on because we are about 50 seconds away from game. We're jumping into Erangel. And what are you expecting from the teams, sort of the higher end of teams? If you were expecting a high end team to make an aggressive play to try and establish dominance over some sort of more inexperienced teams, where would you be expecting them to land and hit and try and sort of get an early dominance on the map?
Well, early dominance, really you want to be moving central, right? Controlling all of those rotations. You want to, but what we might see, you know, you might land Rosok, maybe Pachinki, and then actually try and push out to try and guard some of those rotation routes. So you drop early and move early. That's the idea if you want to establish dominance. Because a lot of those teams, you know, maybe teams moving from military islands, there's a choke point around those bridges. Teams moving, you know, south from Georgia Pole, they're going to be having to move around Everest. So you can try and cut off based on where that first circle lands, where you want to go. So moving central, moving early is how you go for that one. So maybe we'll see a couple of teams go for that. We'll have to wait and see.
Oh, look at this. This is a moderately central drop, more focusing towards the southeast side of the map. So we may see some military-based drops. You don't often see that in competitive play because it can be a bit of a bloodbath earlier on, and sort of, you know, if someone picks up a lot of loot early on, it can be a bit RNG heavy. But let's see where everyone decides to throw down. Yes, Naya will be a big favorite. I'm guessing Mini Milta and Milta will be focused a little bit by some teams, but it's a pretty good central drop. You're just really excluded from Georgia Pole, but that's about it in terms of the major loot locations here on this drop.
Yeah, it should be pretty much fine for everyone here. No, as you say, locations excluded. Rotations, again, might be a little interesting because obviously you're landing late in the west side of the map. So if the circle does drop east, that's really going to crunch everyone around south of Pachinki, around what I like to call Headshot Valley, which is the area between Ruins, Pachinki, and School. It's just so much open ground. It's so difficult to move through safely. So if there is a western circle to start us off, then that will really throw a spanner in the works just because of the way that the plane has gone east to, well, northeast to southwest, but you still have that sort of timing factor involved.
Well, actually, you can see no one has jumped military base. Everybody has avoided that like the plague. We've actually got a couple of teams that have spread out over to Pachinki. Got a lot of teams heading down towards the southwest of the island. So I'm really interested to see this first circle and see how it impacts where players are going. We are now following a UCL right now. And UCL have dropped. I'm trying to work out exactly where they've dropped.
They're currently, I think, on the east near Kameshki.
Yes, they are. They are in the east. So yes, they're right at the top. That's a very interesting drop location. It's kind of isolated. You're guaranteed loot for yourself, but very low loot density up in Kameshki. Also, it probably pretty much guarantees, unless you're massively favored by the circle, that you're going to have to make a big rotation to get into the game at some point.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky for them to maybe find those rotations, as we say. But with the fact that the plane was starting in that northeast, it can be even more densely populated, right? That's going to be even harder for them to try and move through that ground around them. I didn't catch how many teams were nearby them just there, but we'll have to wait and see how they do manage to progress a little bit further forwards.
Taking a look at UWL, our number one team in the tournament, they have dropped, I think, pretty centrally here. Again,
yeah, just south of the chopsticks and near Gatka.
Yeah, okay, so they've dropped pretty centrally. They'll have a good amount of rotation play to make here, and they're going to get a decent amount of loot to work with. You can see Cable has picked up shotgun. Looks like he's got an M16.
On the back, yeah, that seems to be the M16. In general, there was, about halfway through last year a really nice solid buff to the M16, makes it really viable in a lot of situations, so should be pretty happy with that one. Maybe you trade it out for something like a Mini 14 for that range power, but in general you're going to be looking towards the M4 and the AKM. Those are sort of the bread and butter of PUBG Mobile. You can't really say anything bad about either of them, but it looks like already the first engagement coming through.
Yeah, Portsmouth lost 3 members already. They are down, and now there's no guns to speak of. Complete team wipe there as Portsmouth get knocked out of the competition. And that is University of Kent, Will, PMCO, popping off with that M4, just as you said. He'll find a good few kills, all three going to him, one member of his team picking up the other. But that is a good start for University of Kent. They are chasing the leaderboard right now, and 4 kills will be a great start for their point scraping to try and take those points away from UWL.
Yeah, absolutely. They're currently sat at 163 with UWL at 212, so they do have quite a significant chunk to be making up. Early kills, early engagements, that's the sort of aggressive style that we wanted to see from a team that does want to do that. So I'm expecting that they're going to try and move maybe a little bit more centrally. I'll have to try and keep my eye out for where the circle actually landed. If memory serves, I think it was sort of really quite central.
Yeah, I believe
thought I saw it cut through Chopsticks. So.
Yes, it did. I'm pretty sure the very east circle, very east side of the circle was Chopsticks, where we saw UWL.
Yeah.
So I imagine the circle is right now encompassing Pachinki and maybe a bit of Yasnaya as well. So we have a really central circle, I think. So it's going to prove if we get on one of those more compound-focused ends, it could be a really hectic ending for a lot of these teams. You can see now Oldham Ops. They are now in lockdown versus PUBG KEKW. So actually 2 very strong teams already going toe-to-toe early on here. I'm wondering whether KEKW are even in a position to take this, because it looks like Ops have split between 2 compounds. They've got a good look over the rest of this side. And you can see there, that is the circle encompassing Yasnaya. It's got a bit of Pachinki, Milta. So everybody that dropped early have got a very good and quick rotation, very easy rotations into the circle here, John.
Yeah. And speaking of that little engagement as well, Oldham Ops, probably one of the teams you don't want to be nearby, given their aggressiveness, given the fact that they like to go, they really do like to go for these kills over sometimes those placements. Dropping near them early can be pretty tricky. Especially because you don't want to be going out early, right? Secure those placement points until those top 5 spots. Really playing that bloodthirsty it's a coin flip sometimes, and it can go either way. Luckily, for Oldham Ops, it's been okay for them so far, but we'll see if it pays off for them. They still have quite a few games left to go in this series.
It looks like we're getting a very, very tense firefight here. I think KEKW picked up the first kill in that engage. Arctic, we've switched over to a Milk KEKW and Oldham Ops. They are locked in. KEKW cleans up. Fire down. Cheers, Love and Hazza have to resurrect this situation, and I think it's going to be very tough. Oldham Ops had a good read on this, although it looks they've traded back and forth right now, as they are now pushing up towards Hazza. Hazza has got a read on them, though, coming up this stairs, and Ali, they are taking it slow. They're going to move in. Hazza will not be able to get the kill here. He'll get knocked down easy enough, and that'll be a nice, clean sweep for Oldham Ops.
Cheers, Love. He had pretty much left the situation about 20 seconds earlier. He said, look, any kills you get, great, but I am out of there. No point hanging around and getting that wipe early. They're sat in second place with University of Kent nipping at their heels, so wise, just sit in. They're going to be playing that snake game now, so they have to try and find passive locations, try and hide away. Obviously, as a solo player, that becomes a lot easier, but it's a lot riskier. If a team stumbles upon you, that's pretty much game over for you. There's no way you're going to be able to get those 1v4s in a situation like that. It's so rare that I don't expect to be seeing it today.
So we actually saw quite a lot of Arctic in the first week, being kind of the giant killers. They'd often knock out one of the top 3 teams randomly, but never really place very well themselves. They look like they are looted up nicely, having the entire Milta power to themselves. They've picked up a lot of loot. This is a very high density and high tier loot location. So coming out of this, Arctic, I think, are going to be in a great spot. And again, maybe looking to do some damage to some of the top end teams as they have done over the past few weeks.
With the way the circle is as well, they're looking to probably be playing on the edge of the zone for the majority of this time, which means that third parties can be a little bit more prevalent for them. Maybe they'll be waiting to prey on those fights coming through, especially, as you say, with those giant teams, right? If your objective is to slay the giant, try and slay it while someone else is doing the same. And it becomes a little bit easier, maybe.
Got a little engage here right now. UWL actually taking a decent amount of damage. They are locked just near... Yeah, South Georgia, but I'm trying to find the team that they're going up against right now. I think it's UWS. UWL as well, just able to take out a couple of kills here. And it's actually the University of Southampton, I think. No, I got this wrong last time. I'm trying to remember what US... Sterling, there you go. So Sterling actually had a pretty good first week. But it looks like getting picked off very early on here by our #1 team. And although we are seeing some trades back and forth in terms of knocks, really, I feel UWL in a great spot here. They should very easily clean up the remainder of Sterling and take those points.
Yeah, they should be able to, as you say that. They do, and it becomes reality. 4 kills now for UWL, so older mops, even though they did manage to get a couple of points on early, they are still needing to push a little bit further. These teams displaying dominance. Now, this rotation from South George could be a little bit tricky for them, as the circle will be pushing them into the east, and we know there's some pretty decent teams around in those fields that will be in their way. So making those fights work for them will be the name of the game. Looks like Will's playing with only 2 teammates today.
I think actually this happened as one of his teammates dropped out. So he basically was like, well, I didn't really need that many people anyway. And I think realistically, anybody other than Will is just giving free kills away to the enemy team most of the time. So Will was very happy to just say, okay, that's fine. We'll play with 3. And again, he is the PMCO player. I'd say individually, he's probably the most skilled player that we have in the entire tournament. It's kind of how he's been able to just pull his team into that 3rd place position. But obviously, sometimes even the most skilled players can't 1v4. And Will did find himself in some scenarios over the last few weeks where, he did pull out some incredible clutches, but it just couldn't happen time and time again.
Left a bit of a spin out there for Sleeper, but he'll be all right. He'll pick himself back up, get back into the game. Just to the west of Ruins, that was. So they're also going to be pretty near to where UWL were holding.
I imagine UWL, I imagine UWL probably rotate either they're going to rotate over North Bridge to Hillside Compounds, or they're going to go round Everest and into the east side, through Ruins where Will is. I think that they've got 2 immediate decisions there. And actually, if you are looking to play the circle and play away from the majority of people, Hillside Compounds is probably a good entrance into the zone, because I think very few people are going to rotate north from the drop locations of where the majority of our teams were sat. I don't think many people will be rotating north through Hillside Compounds into the north of Rozhok.
Yeah, and I don't think too many people will anyway, given the layout of the circle. You will pretty much guaranteed have to cross that river down, and crossing the river in pretty much any situation is a dangerous venture. If you're confident in being able to take a moving firefight, sure. If you have more than 1 vehicle for your squad, which was one of the things that I was constantly pointing out, I have to say, during last year, during PMCOs, was a lot of teams are rotating all in the same vehicle. Split it up, you have a better chance of making things happen. You can play those off angles, you can swarm over with crossfires and really do a lot of work, and it makes it easier to do things like crossing the river. But it's still a risk, and it's still a risk that if you do post up on the north side of the river here, you're more than likely going to have to take. Reducing risk is really the best strategy in PUBG Mobile as it goes. So maybe inadvisable unless you're super confident, and it seems like UWL are going to be super confident about it, and rightly so. That's out right at the top with a pretty clear points lead.
Yeah, I think they feel pretty confident taking fights. I mean, they've been very aggressive in some of their moving vehicle-based fights as well. So I think they just said, okay, I feel good about going for a bridge take in a lot of these scenarios. And also, you've got to remember the level of competition here. We had so many bridge situations where no one would guard the bridge, no fights would open up in those sort of open areas. And I think UWL have probably become accustomed to the competition of not having any bridge guarding going on, so they get across into the north of Rozhok for free, which, in a lot of situations, if the circle was sat like that, we had people in the center held up in the Rozhok compounds, you wouldn't be able to do that for free, but you do it. UWL get it, which is why I thought they might go for that play, just because it puts them in a situation where they have the best spot coming into the circle.
Maybe I was overestimating their competition, or maybe they know something I don't. We'll have to wait and see. But over the hills they go. This is pretty much what I called Headshot Valley. It's just so open. You can see there's so many angles. You can get shot from school, just the top of their hill, the compounds to the west of them at the moment, and it's just really tricky ground to move through. So you need to do it at pace, which is exactly what they're doing, sticking in those vehicles. So again, good discipline from that squad. We'll see how it pays off further into this game. Still 47 alive, 13 minutes into the game. That's fair enough. 14 teams, though. 2 teams already gone down. That might be a little too much early for my liking, but those wipes did go towards the top of the table, so the points don't really balance out in the middle standings. And we're just waiting, really, for that action to pop off when these behemoths of teams start to clash.
So we're keeping an eye on BR right now. They are pretty much in ruins, just on the northwest side of the circle. Not looking to take any open risks going into what John likes to call Headshot Valley. I like that. I like the name for it. They don't want to jump. They don't want to run out into the open. They know there's probably a lot of people keeping eyes on that situation. Cheers Love, the single remaining member of KEKW, surely just playing for placements here at this point. Essentially just trying to avoid. He's actually going to smoke his car to get into it. That's very, very cautious, I suppose.
If he's being suppressed, he needs to make that evacuation, and the acceleration period of that car is your most vulnerable spot, right? Because you start at a complete standstill. So getting away, getting that speed up, you exit the other side of the smoke, you're starting to move, and it's a little bit more difficult to track. So if you're making that play, it kind of makes sense, but it's really sort of the best of a terrible situation, right? If you're pinned down, you're more than likely going to take some damage, if not go down completely. But a little bit of a firefight coming out for Arctic now.
Yeah, Arctic with the long-range shots trying to lock down TA. He will back off, back into the compound. No one else really punishing him. He's been sat at this window for a long time. There are actually 2 eyes from TA on the topside compound looking over. Arctic actually gets a kill onto Sonam as well.
Oh,
and they're putting a lot of pressure on here.
They're not quite hitting those shots around the windows, but it seems like Hazy will have his say.
Oh!
And goes for a second.
Double shot, wipes the entire team with it. Hazy picks up 2, and he's got 3 kills to his name overall. That was a saucy bit of play with the car there. Easy couple of shots, and that's a team wipe.
Absolutely. Brilliant stuff coming out for Arctic. They're going to get themselves the points, get the loot as well, probably even more crucially. Keep those meds on board, get a couple of upgrades. But with a car like that, do you really need an upgrade? Seems like you're already doing pretty well, but they'll be happy nonetheless. They'll get everything they need from those bodies. Posting up, I believe that's just towards the south side of the main island. You can see, just on the east bridge underneath farm. At the moment, a really strong spot for UWL. You can see they've moved towards Potato Hill, that big brown blob in the middle of the map. And they will be, as I said before, controlling those rotations. KEKW have a similar idea, but unfortunately, there is only one member of the cavalry left, and in the form of Cheers Love. So whilst you can overwatch a couple of rotations there a few times, but you're probably not going to be wanting to take any team fights in that sort of scenario. UWL really the kings of the hill right now.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the central location, so they have the easiest rotations depending on where the circle goes. And Potato is, got clear access into Pachinki Hills as well. You see Snake, they have taken on Tad right now. Snake have no idea. I don't even know if Tad are going to take the shots. Remember, one of the things when you're held up in a compound like this is you don't really want to make the shots unless you're sure that you can take the fight. And Tad not willing to give away their location right now. They are just happy to scope this one out, see what the competition is like, and go for the fight when they feel comfortable doing so.
It's an interesting choice. Normally, you see a team, you shoot a team, is generally a good rule of thumb. But if you are less confident in hitting those shots, as you say, it can be better to wait for them to try and rotate past you and get that sort of inverse drive-by, I suppose, take onto the fight. The push from Snake could come through later on, so that might be what they're looking for.
I don't think Snake realize they're there, though, and I think a lot of teams that aren't particularly confident in their long-range shooting ability, they're not willing to take these longer-range fights. They're just, and especially Tad, from what I saw of them in the first week, they were very, very, very unwilling to take compound fights. They were more willing to go all-out guns blazing, medium-range spray and pray fights, but they were less willing to take the compound fights. They more like to hold up and wait for the rotations, and Tad often appeared on the map towards the later circles, and I think they're generally a placement team, or they try to be anyway. I think they end up getting caught out in sort of the closer circles, and they don't quite finish in the top 5, but I've always seen Tad to be more calm and collected in this competition. They're not willing to take the flat-out engages because I don't think they feel as confident in their long-range ability as some of the other teams.
Yeah, I mean, so Tad stands for the Addict, as it turns out. They're currently set on 53 placement points to 48 kills in 6th place. a little bit placement heavy, but they do like to get their kills later on, it would seem, if you know, if they are surviving later on. You can rack up some kills pretty quickly, because it's at that stage where, you know, meds become an issue for a lot of people, where armor has been depleted, and in some cases even ammo. If you've been holding one of those strong rotation spots, you've just been spiking out from wherever you're held up. So maybe they're a team that likes to prey on those late game vulnerabilities that we are normally going to see. But the fight does actually start to break out for them. Again, UWOC, they've moved centrally, and they will move just a little bit west towards Pachinki Hills.
Yeah, they are, and you can see we are now keeping eyes on Snake. They did just see Tad move by, so they are aware of that rotation that came out, and Snake not willing to take the fight either. They're at a man disadvantage as well, remember. There are only 3 members working with Snake at this point in time. The Addicts are just going to get their double vehicle setup and head back in towards the north side. A little bit of a flip coming out from Ominarion, but he's fine. He didn't lose any HP there.
He'll be all right. They'll get through it. Luckily, no one really to their north side, so they won't be super vulnerable from there. And they can keep on trucking. 2 vehicles at this stage on a big rotation, though. Maybe a little bit lackluster. I like to see at least 3 from a squad that hasn't really been taking any fights. There's no reason for you to have lost those vehicles earlier on. So unless I missed a fight that they were in earlier, I think they could probably pick up more, have a little bit more maneuverability. But, oh, here we go. Will start to pop off, and Arctic's in the crosshair.
Yeah, Will just picked up 2 very quickly on Arctic, and Arctic immediately, they're going to try and get the reses and back off here. They were just pushing a little bit too far through that warehouse, and Will had eyes on them from the top of the building that he's in. I don't know if Arctic want to take that. I think a lot of people have seen when Will pops up on the feed, you know that you don't want to go in a flat-out gun skill fight with him, and Arctic are going to essentially say, yep, all right, this is not a team that we want to take on right now, and they're going to back off.
Well, it's not only a team you don't want to take on, it's also a location you might not want to find yourself in. With the placement of the circle, your southerly rotation is pretty much cut off, so why are you competing with a really strong team for a location that could potentially later come back to bite you, right? It's not the ideal situation. Instead, they're going to head into town, which again is another risky decision. They might try and skirt around the side of it and instead take a position over towards that east side of Pachinki on the north edge, because those fields, again, very, very open. This garage, actually probably one of the best rotations they could have made here. Taking this spot allows them a lot of maneuverability later on. They sequester that car inside the garage, and with it, they save at least 3 of their players from the clutches of Will.
Yeah, and also they're now on the north of Pachinki. They've got good eyes on everybody approaching from the north. They have a clear vision using that third person into Pachinki Hills, which is where UWL is spotted. So it's a good spot. There was a nice rotation coming out from them. They escaped the fight with a team that probably would have wiped them, and they put themselves in a good compound coming into what could be, you know, a final Pachinki circle in terms of where this circle is going to land. Let's take a look at Johnny and friends now. They are actually seriously rotating on the circle, and they are working their way through the west side here. I think it's literally Johnny who's out by himself. I think his friends are actually split up from him right now.
You got Johnny, and they're saying he's been eating too much sugar and he has to get a run on, try and burn some of it off. He's going to have to try and skirt around UKC, though. Not the easiest of jobs, but as a solo, it's a little bit easier to sneak straight past, especially if you're not in a vehicle. Remain relatively unattacked there, unafraid maybe, for the time being. Compounds and settlements is what I sort of wanted to talk about here, because now we're in a situation where we're very near Rozhok. Right? Oh, sorry, Pachinki. If you have gone into Pachinki, you really are banking that the circle heads towards Pachinki. So you can see at the moment, Keck W in a really kind of sticky spot, because they're going to have to make some tricky rotates. Because if you go into a compound, it's so much harder to leave that settlement than it is to get into a settlement later on if the circle shifts there. Now, these final circles, teams are starting to clump up, and we'll see what they're able to do. That west side seems to be pretty hot right now.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. It's UK University of Kent jumped straight into TAD. And UWL, the team that has been pretty quiet, but obviously top team in our competition, they are making the smart central rotation plays, just trying to keep themselves around Pachinki Hills. They're not trying to get caught up in that north side brawl around school. Really interested to see what's going on with TAD and University of Kent right now. No kills coming up on our feed, so they must be keeping it pretty low key right now. You can see Johnny, I think, is just locked a little bit further south of the University of Kent. Tad have got eyes on Kent, trying to push over these ridges. And this is just a Texas holdout right now.
This is a dangerous fight for Kent to be taking in this situation. They're exposed from the back, and whilst the circle is there, you can see there's teams up to the north. They're going to be waiting. They're going to hear those gunshots. If they don't go and fight into the compound, Tad might just have a massive advantage here. You can see Johnny has a couple more friends now. There's 2 of them sat there as well. So there's third parties abound for everyone involved, and no one really wants to be going for this fight in this situation. As you can see BR as well.
Johnny's friends have been there the majority of the game.
Goodness me.
They actually have separated from Johnny, and they have been laying in that brush for a very long time. They've just been like a tiger waiting to pounce. And they'll have a third-party opportunity here. Arctic also not too much further to the northeast of this entire engage right now. They're actually locked up in their own fight. Maybe they were just shooting the stairs, actually.
I think they were having a look, but here we go. Here's Kent starting to take the fight with the Addicts as well into the compound. It looks like Addicts take a knock. I think they managed to trade it. Yeah, there's Ben Usher going down, and Will taking a forward fight. The spray down through the window, not quite there.
Oh, but the Addicts get back. 80% HP chunked out on Will. He's going to have to apply those bandages, start chunking up. He got a lot of HP down on his tier 3 helmet as well, so Will did take a hit. He can't do everything himself, remember. He does have to be a bit more smart about where he chooses to take those shots. You know, he opens up on the top of a ridge, he's going to be a sitting duck, and he found that he was very lucky not to get knocked in that situation, I feel. The Addicts are not sort of a team to mess around with in these late game circles. They will just go flat out for the fights.
Yeah, it looks like Johnny got spotted out. Will was able to get that kill, and now there's a lot of fight going on. There's the Johnny squad, the friends getting taken down as well once more. They will fall, and it's the crosshairs of Will once more to find it 7 kills now.
Yeah, Will now picks up another one as well. He's going to clean up Young too. They did keep themselves very low-key, but University of Kent will get a couple more kills to their name. Will just trying to take a couple of long shots to pick it up at the end, and 8 kills now on Will himself. And he manages to clean out those third parties. Now just the Addicts to deal with. And again, this compound is becoming an issue because they have to push past the Addicts to get to the next circle.
They have to try and break that ground, leaving these compounds. So this is what I was talking about. Settlements, compounds, when it comes later, become essentially like settlements in terms of the rotations you have to make. Oh, that's cruel, Will. Taking out the vehicles as well, going to make it even harder on that long rotation. But leaving a compound is harder than pushing it into a compound later on. And it seems like the Addicts might find that out. A nice little pick, though, leaves their flanks exposed. The University of Kent maybe going to struggle a little bit more, but they've yet to lose a player.
I would actually just rotate south here. I'd get in a car maybe, or at least try and just make the southward rotation that Will's going for now. Head into the fields and try and make it that way. We've got another fight going on. UWL, again, they clean house. South side of the circle picked up. They smoke for cover to get the loot very quick. And now they're going to try and take out HW as well, who are just prone in the field. The smoke's come down, but I don't know how long they're going to keep them alive. And UWL are starting to crank up the kills themselves. They'll take one knock here, but they're still very healthy and lots of kills to their name.
Yeah, from saint to sinner, unfortunately, as he does get knocked on the sidelines. But a beautiful spray down coming in earlier. And we'll be able to get res. They have a really decent position here on the south, and not too much to worry about from their south flank. They're going to hear this vehicle coming in as well. And potentially want to take that fight. They haven't healed up just yet, so they will want to fall back just briefly and then maybe re-aggress into this, but there's a lot of smoke cover for them to be moving around, so they should be okay for now.
Oldham Ops, our aggressive kill-seeking team. They're moving into UWL. UWL not quite sure where they're coming from. They're split up to get as much information as possible. They do have that flank coming out from HW, but now finally Sile gets a couple of shots off onto Ops, who are now rotating to block that entrance from UWL into the next circle. This is a very tense situation right now. There is a double pincer move going on, and UWL are right in the middle of it, with Kent not too far apart. Kent are just a little bit further over to the west here. Will is very low, and that's HWL picking up the kill there. So HW taken out now. UWL now pushing on to Ops. Ops have got the high ground, but what can they do with it? As Ali finds a flank, doesn't quite get the knock onto Cable as he sprays blindly into the smoke. It's really good from Ops, though. They are suppressing UWL. They are stopping that rotation as the flank comes out. This is great play. Sile manages to get a little hit here. He is on the top here of this hill. But again, UWL, when that fire comes out, once someone reveals themselves, the rest of the team pounces, and they do get the kills onto Oldham Ops here and clean up the team. Now, have University of Kent got what it takes to go in? This is going to be a big scalp for Will to take. If he can get in there and clean up the team while they're healing, this could be a huge win for the University of Kent.
They've lost a player in the meantime, so they are going to be too strong, but Will leading the charge nonetheless, and already UWL already in a fight, so this might be the time to strike. They do have to be worried. There's teams up to the north, and there's not a lot of time left on the circle, Scoundrel, so they will have to think about the speed at which they take this aggression.
Yeah, and you can see UWL are very keen on protecting their southerly flank. You can see them turned towards Will just behind this hill, and Will now pushing up. He's going to get eyes on Cable. Takes a couple of shots here. He's now in the zone. He's going to have to be very, very careful about how long he spends here. I think this could just be it for Kent. I mean, Will is surrounded on all fronts as Sile pushes in. Oh, this is tough for Will. I don't think he's going to get much work done here, although Sile goes down. Atom down as well now with 2. Actually, what has happened to the rest of UWL? Has Will actually done the work here?
He managed to take down Sile. The rest of them had to push in. He's managed to get another kill as well, so they're up to 11. I don't think he's going to get into this zone. That's a little bit too hopeful. They go down, but they go down in 4th.
Who got the kills? Was it Arctic picking up the kills on the other side then? That's what I was keeping an eye on, because the rest of UWL were dropping like flies, and now Arctic, I said, these are the giant killers. These guys do pop up in the late game and somehow take out the number 1 and 2 teams. They're not as consistent though.
Yeah, they were playing spoiler to the Addicts. They then played spoiler to UWL, who were sticking around to try and wipe out Will from the mix of it. But now we find at Arctic atop the hill with presence in the next circle, with the advantage pretty much all over. 3 teams remain, and they have, I think, 3 of their players alive at least, if not more. 2 players really facing down against them. So it's a 3v1v1. In this situation, Arctic with 8 kills, they're going to be looking to make that 10, get those double digits on board, and get a really solid game under their belt.
Yeah, the smokes come out to try and allow those prone movements into the circle, but it also completely highlights where their remaining opposition is. Achilles actually picks up a long-range shot here. Achilles definitely doing work for the remainder of BR. That's going to be 1 knock, now into a 2v1v1, unless someone can go and save Rahul, who I think will get some support from his team eventually, but Achilles moves in, dives into the circle, has actually got position right now, is flanked ever so slightly by one of the remainders of the Young Boys. They're actually dead last in our standings. This will be a huge boost for their points. As Worse Than Me now looks for a little flank here. He's sneaking up on Achilles. Can he get the blind shot on him behind?
Depends if he gets spotted out. Oh, he's there. He spotted him. I don't know if they know it, but no, it's Hassie. He plays spoiler. Unfortunate. Down in 3rd, and that's another couple of points for Achilles.
However, Young Boys will take it. They'll take those. They'll take those points. I think this is maybe the highest placement they've ever had. Achilles now just locked outside the circle. The painkillers will not do much for him. He has to go for it right now, but he'll be exposed. This will be Arctic taking the first winner chicken dinner on Erangel, and the giant killers are finally the giants themselves.
Absolutely. Starting the game, the Strathclyde Strikers, I think their official name is, but they go by Arctic in game. They were sat down in tents before this all kicked off. So getting that solid chicken dinner, 9 kills on the board. They didn't manage to get that final one that went to the play zone. So they will be 9 kills, 29 points in total, bumping them up to a total of 97 plus 29, which, as we all know, is 116. So they're going to be pushing pretty far up. For reference, the Addicts at the start of this game, they were 107, and Kingstonian were sat above them in 5th on 138. So there is quite a gap there, but they're going to be in the running for placing around 6th place right now. They just need to try and roll it over.
Yeah, well, we will bring you the points after a break. Remember, we take a little bit of time to make sure we tot up all of those points to make sure we get those points laid out accurately. I'm really excited to see if Kent has closed the gap on UWL. We'll see how many kills were picked up on either side there, but we're going to cut to a very quick break. When we're back, we'll dive into Miramar and we'll have all of the updated standings.
1. PUBG Mobile. Play free now.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship. My name is Excoundrel, joined by John Allen, and we are going to be diving into Miramar next after seeing a surprising win from Arctic on Erangel. They had a really good game. They came out on top and had a pretty easy end to it as well. That was it was exciting stuff, though, especially that little brawl at the end between Arctic, University of Kent, and UWL. That was a little bit of a gunslinging showdown, but Arctic came out on top.
Yeah, they managed to insert themselves in between those rotations and actually cut them off in several situations. And they forced UWL to try and take the fight on two fronts, and that never really goes very well. They managed to get a couple of great sniper shots out, and then they just had dominance over the rest of the zone. So it was a really, really nice final set of circles played by the Strathclyde Striders. Really happy with how they managed to do that one. Let's see if they can keep it up and maybe look towards some of their early game rotations, get into those positions earlier, because you can have that same sort of impact on a macro level if you're paying attention to where people are dropping, if you're paying attention to where people are going. And Miramar is the map of rotations. You need to be on the ball with that one.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of Strathclyde Striders, let's see if they've strode up the standings. They have indeed. They put them stridden. I don't even know what the English, the plural for stride is. Strathclyde Strikers, they are now at 97 in total, putting themselves at 7th place behind the Addicts and Kingstonian, who still find themselves in a solid 5th and 6th. I think the Addicts actually jumped up a couple of places here as well. They did pretty well off the back of that. So Strathclyde Striders have now leapfrogged a couple of universities. I think it was Stirling and Heriot Watt to put themselves nicely in 7th. But Oldham Ops, PUBG Mobile KW, University of Kent, and University of West London all solidly at the top of the standings. Though I will say, University of Kent, with that 4th place, I think, did end up getting the win over PUBG Mobile KW and have taken 2 points and come in 2nd.
Yeah, well, they've done all right. They've done pretty well, though they are still very much basically at the same scoreline. 2 points is pretty much nothing when it comes to the scoring system in PUBG Mobile. If you're making it to those late games, that's the difference between, you know, what is it, third, 4th and 3rd, getting 8 points or 10 points. Getting 2 kills, you know, maybe you pick off a player on a rotation and all of a sudden that gap just shrinks, right? So that 2 points basically puts them at level pegging right up until you're sort of in that final game where it does start to play a little bit of importance there, but still a clear lead for UWL, making it that far in, still getting a bunch of kills. They've done very well, so we'll have to see how they can do it. At the moment, what they're playing is a very basic rotation style, but it's working because no one is really trying to cut them off. No one's really trying to think, you know, that second level above at this stage and try and, you know, we saw them, for instance, we saw them cross that bridge from the north side. No one was holding it. No one was holding it against them. They just made that simple rotation. They got central in the circle. They made it to, I think it was 4th in the end, and they weren't really challenged at any point. They just held down those flanks, set up those crossfires, and played it beautifully.
Yeah, absolutely. It was pretty easy for them to come out on top. We are now heading into Miramar. This will be our 2nd map of the night, and a pretty central south to north flight path here. So pick of the litter, really, in terms of drop locations on Miramar here. Where do you expect we're going to see a lot of people go? I imagine some Picado, maybe a little bit of El Pozo. If anyone's feeling saucy, maybe some Hacienda del Patron.
We'll see where they do end up going, but a little bit of a westerly. Oh, hello, we're back in. A little bit of a westerly plane on Miramar does actually impact things a little bit more than maybe an off-center thing on Erangel, and especially on Sandhawk. That's basically you can go anywhere every drop. But on Miramar, it's such a big map that you don't actually have that range to be going to a lot of places, and especially later into the plane path, going up to Campo Militar in the northeast is pretty much impossible in most plane path, so we're not really going to see too many people go there. I think you're right. It's probably that southern central area that we're going to be looking at around El Pozo and around Picado. Los Leones as well, very, very accessible, can house maybe 3 to 4 teams quite happily and have loot for all of them because it is such a big place to be. I am a big fan of Hacienda del Patron. It's an exciting place to watch, especially if 2 teams drop there early. They basically get their own deathmatch into that area of the map, and then figure out where they want to go. Also, the golden car spawns there as well. So
and it does. Unfortunately, we might have noticed we had a slight tech issue there. So we're going to have to cut to a quick break. When we're back, we'll dive into Miramar. Sorry for that, but we'll be back very shortly.
Hi.
Hey, buddy.
Yo, Mike, are you ready?
Wait. Should I go with the UMP9 or use it?
Sun's out, guns out.
Gear up for summer.
Ready?
Okay. Well,
Ready?
Sorry. I'm late.
Any plans for fall break?
Happy
graduation! You made it, bro. So proud of you.
Sorry I'm late. What a day.
I hear ya.
Get
Come
this.
on.
Hey,
Watch out. Take this.
that's
Hey.
a real battleground.
Are you ready?
and gentlemen, to the PUBG Mobile Campus Championship. My name is Scoundrel, joined by John Allen. Hopefully we have our tech issues under control as we head into Miramar. Unfortunately, we've had to have a complete reset of the game, so everything that we talked about with drop locations probably going to be wildly different coming into this one. All the teams just had to reset, and we'll go from scratch here. As John said, the flight path matters a lot in Miramar because it is a very heavy rotation game because the map is so big, but also you are just locked out from certain locations just because of the size of the map. So we'll have to see what changes with the next flight path and see which locations are available.
Some of the cruelest flight paths can be something like a sort of far east to far south plane path, which can really essentially just cut that bottom half of the map and eliminate the majority of strong locations. You're really limited to Los Leones and Picado at that point, and then you've just got the little towns around the side like Impala to maybe even try and scrape something together. And it becomes a lot more difficult. You could have a really kind plane path that starts over in Campo Militar and goes down southwest that cuts straight down the middle of the map. And those two plane paths aren't even that far from each other. It's just a matter of shifting it up. So we'll have to wait and see, as we say, where those plane paths do end up. In terms of what we're looking for on Miramar, I've said it before, I'll say it again, it's rotations, rotations, rotations. It sounds like a bad daytime TV show, but unfortunately it is Miramar, and it is very important for your teams to get those vehicles early, to get on the road and see where you can find that little inlet into the rest of the team standings.
Yeah, I think Miramar can often be a little bit slow-paced, especially the early game, because it's so widespread. Most teams don't end up being too close to each other early on, but when those rotations come through, there's lots of open ground. I always call this like Sniper Haven, because there was just so many good opportunities for long-range scope battles. We saw a lot of that throughout the weeks on Miramar for all of our campus teams. Also, we have seen a lot of early aggression, though. A lot of teams do tend to jump to the same locations. I'm wondering if they've smarted up over the last couple of weeks and teams are now spreading out. But I remember the first week we had like 5 or 6 early brawls because people were just jumping to the same locations and battling out early. I remember Picado was just an absolute nightmare for the teams jumping in. This is, I think this is the kind of, not a bad flight path. You have Campo Militar. It is kind of limiting you to Los Leones and Impala, but you still have things like water treatment and Hacienda del Patron. You just probably cut off from Valdemar and El Pozo here.
And there's one of two ways that you can go out there. You can drop really slow and maybe try and make it there, but really what you're looking to do is get along those roads, get a vehicle and drive there early on. You are banking a little bit on the circle, not screwing you over here and moving south and taking it away from you. But if you get a vehicle early on, so for instance, if you drop along that road from Torre, I've forgotten his name already, Torre Humidor, can't even say it. On the north side there, that road.
Say it.
Let's go with that.
Torre Amuda. Torre Ahamuda. Torre Ahumada. Torre Ahumada. There you go.
That's it.
There you go.
If you get a vehicle on that road, you can actually you can drive along past La Cobreria to go towards El Pozo, dropping out a little bit later towards Hacienda del Patron, and towards the west of that, there's the road you can go along there, but it's a little bit riskier, and of course it's a later drop, so maybe we'll see teams opt to not even go out that far, stop in La Cobreria, stop in those central locations.
Okay, so a lot of people, you can see UWL, a lot of people jumping into San Martin. So San Martin has been heavily invested in by quite a few teams in the early game right now. You can see University of Kent and University of Stirling have dropped over towards the southeast side of Los Leones. And have potentially got a move into Puerto Paraíso, but I doubt that. It looks like everybody just moving in towards Los Leones. The circle very much in favor of those teams that went towards San Martin and upwards towards north of Hacienda del Patron. They are in a great position. No early rotations have to be made. Those are the teams down in Los Leones and Campo Militar, and maybe even further. They will have to make those big rotations, look for the vehicles to make sure they get there safely.
So KEKW, they have a strategy that we did just see there. They dropped early onto the vehicles, and they are actually heading out west towards El Pozo, which Really? Probably wise, given the circle. You spot out that early circle on Miramar. You make that rotation to match it. Get that loot as well from Alpozo, because no one's going to be challenging you there. You know if you move early, you're going to be the first, and you can play defensively from that point forwards. You want to get into that city, get some loot, get out towards one of those hillsides, or maybe try and camp an edge to try and play spoiler for someone else trying to come that way and do the same thing, but just a little bit later down the line.
Yeah, I mean, you get that stadium to yourself. That's a lot of high-tier loot there. The Coliseum. What do you call that little Coliseum type building? It's
stadium, I think.
Stadium. Yeah, there's two. There's the actual stadium that looks like the ice rink with the wrestling ring in the middle of it, and then there's the one that's kind of next to it.
Oh yeah, I know the one you mean. Do you know what? I don't know. Can't remember.
Let's not even get hung up on it. But I call one of them like Coliseum, and then the one with the wrestling ring I always call Stadium. But yeah, I mean, nonetheless, El Pozo is free, high tier loot available if you're going to rotate over there, like we saw. Let's have a look at this big sort of, I guess, cluster around San Martin right now. There are 3 teams here. UWL, we've got the Young Boys, and then we also have HWU, who are actually fairly high up in the standings as well. So there's going to be a lot of early pressure here. Young, I think, are probably the least threatening team to have in an early game fight. They haven't really proven themselves to be particularly deadly in either placements or kills. But HWU, given the right situation, have been pretty deadly in the early games. So I think UWL will have their work cut out for them here.
Pretty close, but these early settlements... in general on Miramar, you see a lot of teams landing close together and then not opting to push. They will know of each other, well, they should know of each other's presence there. They'll have seen those parachutes. So going for this fight is a choice. It's very much a decision being made. At the moment, it looks like UWL, but you can see as well, the Young Boys, they're just backing off. They don't want this fight, and that, again, is a choice from them. They're moving away from that danger because there's plenty of loot here. And that's one of the beauties of these settlements on Miramar, is that whilst... you can land a little bit closer together. There's enough loot to sustain that, and there's enough presence there to just hold it off. So maybe they're going to turn around. Maybe they're going to try and hold that push, but no engagements just yet coming through.
Young actually moving in towards UWL. UWL do have that third person over the wall here, and I don't believe the Young squad have any kind of idea about where UWL are. UWL have done a good job of keeping themselves pretty low-key, trying to find the right opportunity to strike. HWU are, I think, far enough away on the northwest side of this to really be threatened by the rotations coming out right now. They get 1 knock already. That is going to be 1 member of Young down. Young Gaza also going down 2, so that is 2 for Sile, 2 knocks right now. He's going to find an immediate pull onto Boca as well. That's 3 for him. Sile cleaning up the entire squad. He's going to confirm some kills. No idea where the final member is, but I think the rest of his team has sniffed him out. That will be a squad wipe. 3 kills for Sile, and UWL off to a great start.
He is the Reaper come towards to collect his debt, and he will manage to pick up 3 kills. A beautiful 3 kills, essentially a 1v3 there. No one really had any hand in helping him out. A beautiful couple of spray downs, a little bit of a long range play with the micro Uzi, so maybe a little bit risky there, but he managed to make it happen. Wasn't punished for his boldness, and well, it's going to go their way. So a nice pickup early on, and UWL still very much a great force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and they are just trying to push into where HWU are situated on the northwest side, but HWU jump into a vehicle. They may end up running into ECG and into TAD. And a thing I've noticed that I didn't really pick up on, ECG and BR have split dropped. So ECG split between the north and south side of the map, as did BR here. So a couple of members of ECG heading over to the north, a couple of members of ECG dropping into Los Leones. And actually another interesting point here is University of Kent with Will, they did decide to back out of Los Leones and head down to Puerto Paraiso by themselves to get the loot. They have the vehicle to work with those rotations.
Fairly smart, but unfortunately the circle not really that great for them. With the first zone moving in on Miramar, you do really want to be getting ahead of that. You have so much ground to cover and so many teams are going to be in your way. It's going to be pretty tricky, but a little bit of a scuffle going on between a couple of our squads. Johnny taking a knock, I think. ECG as well, they lost 1 of their players. Stent has gone down, and Johnny take another confirm, and Com falls.
Yeah, I think UCL and were locked up with Johnny around Impala. Johnny and UCL were just kind of locked in that easterly town. Both teams were looting there, and I believe Johnny just coming out on the worst end of a small firefight. University of Sterling, they were in Los Leones. They are encircling that one remaining member of ECG, Benja. You can see down there in the bottom of that sort of multi-story building. He's not willing to give himself away, already losing one member. And remember, he has no one to save him. They are split map dropped. So if ECG loses another member in Los Leones, that'll be it. There's another firefight opening up here. Ops pushing in to TA. They are going to get a lot of pressure down, but will take a couple of knocks. And now it is literally just Itty by himself, having to rescue the rest of his team as now Savage Sun. He's been pretty good on Miramar. He's been one of his most well-performed maps. He pushes in and gets the kill, and that's Older Mops getting knocked out very early. Very early.
That is very early, you're right. 15th place, I believe, maybe 14th, maybe 16th. I didn't quite catch who went out first there, but really strong there. But that is the price you pay as an aggressive side. That's what we talked about with Oldham Ops. They were sat on 74 placement, 84 kill points. They are really bloodthirsty, and you are flipping a coin. Even if you have a massive advantage, you know, that's still a 5% chance that you're going to take the fall early on. And when you're vying for those top spots, you can't be playing with the numbers like that. You need to try and ensure that 99.9% of success on all of those fights. There's no point being that aggressive in those situations. But they do go for it. They will take the loss, and they will have to take it in their stride. We'll see if they can come back a little bit stronger next game. Of course, it might favor them. We're moving over to Sandhawk next map, so perhaps a little bit better for that style of play.
Yeah, classically, Older Mops have been a bit coin flip, and when it comes to rotations and heads-up tactical play, that's not really been their style. Their style has been all-out guns blazing, try and find those firefights, why they've been so much higher in kill score than placements. And, you know, I think also, just through the nature of the way that the point system works, you should naturally be weighted towards placements, because it's much easier to score more highly on placements. So if you're looking at a weighted advantage in favor of kills over placements, you must be getting a lot of kills, you know, in most of your games. And that's the way that Older Mops like to play. They either place badly but go out guns blazing, or they are a more kill heavy team. But again, coin flip. Miramar is just not a great map for them, and hasn't been over the last few weeks either.
No, it's heavily dependent on rotation. So the style not in their favor, but UWL, we saw what they were able to do in the first game in terms of just sticking to basic rotations on Erangel. It paid off beautifully for them. They've held in San Martin this time around, so they haven't actually gone for those slightly aggressive push-outs to hold rotation spots. So they're going to have to try and find that a little bit later. On the southern border of San Martin, you do have access to a lot of that hillside and a lot of those sort of sideways lateral rotations across the map, so they could spread out that way. Looking at the Addicts, they've got a pretty strong spot here. In the foothills of Hacienda del Patron, just to the south of water treatment as well, they have a lot of ground covered, and in this sort of a circle, it's really strong, because you know a lot of those teams are going to be coming from the south. They're going to have to funnel around San Martin and sort of in through those hills to the west of Junkyard, so you have a really strong setup there. It's very difficult to push onto where they're holding right now.
Yeah, and you can see that University of Kent, they've come from Puerto Paraiso, and they've head up towards Graveyards. They did actually manage to get straight round Los Leones, didn't get locked into the University of Sterling or ECG, who were in that particular town. And looking at Will, they've stopped off, I believe, just south of Graveyard here, near La Bendita, just to pick up what they can. I think they're actually just near Minas Generales, so I think they are in between Minas Generales and Graveyard right now.
Yeah, they did have to move pretty quickly. We saw that they started out down in the southeast in Puerto Paraiso. I think they actually rotated there after being challenged in Los Leones, I think you mentioned. So they will be a little bit late and a little bit light on loot. So stopping off like this, probably quite wise. I'm hoping they have more than one vehicle. Looks like they've got a buggy and something else to be getting on with. Potentially something a little bit better for the other two. Buggy, by the way, on Miramar, really strong vehicle. It can deal with those bumps just so much better than pretty much any other car available to you on this map. So having that at your disposal, really strong. A UAZ may be the other option, is better. In terms of getting around quickly though, it's the buggies that you want, with a UAZ being sort of your mainstay and the satellite buggies.
Well, I just need to stop us there because University of Stirling have held up around Kent, where Will keeping tabs on, jumps out, doesn't quite manage to land the first shots. Actually sprays into the side of the hill. He gets tagged up a little bit here, tries to dive around the side. Unfortunately, taking a lot of damage for his troubles. The rest of the University of Kent, not exactly sharp shooters. It really is just Will trying to carry this team. And now Hazard going aggressive. Pops out that mini Uzi. He's going to push around to Will and goes in. Gets knocked down straight away. And Will suddenly bites back up against University of Stirling, who push round, and now Wang goes down, but Will takes a hit as a beautiful flank comes out from the University of Stirling, and they knock out Kent in its entirety. And one of our top teams bites the dust very early on.
Well, there's no bounties on the teams at the top of the table, but these teams sure are acting like it at the moment. That's two teams, in that top 5 spot that have been knocked out now. That's both Oldham Ops and University of Kent, who have gone down. Seems like UWL, though, they're unfazed by this. They can hold their own. They've done just that. They've already got 5 kills, 13.5 minutes into the game. So again, just displaying what having a solid squad who can make those basic rotations can do for you.
I think actually, I need to highlight that UWL, I think, are playing the most sensible game. Probably the closest to professional level play, I think, out of any of these teams. They are just playing the 99% games. Like we want the highest placement as possible. We're not going to take wild firefights unless we're absolutely sure that we're going to win them. We're playing purely rotational, super safe compound or super safe kind of settlement type play. And I've been really impressed with just how restrained UWL have been. Really, they are a points-based team here. And they've kind of been paying dividends, as you can see. They are miles ahead of any of the other competition on our standings right now.
Yeah, they are taking those fights where you know, why would you take a fair firefight in PUBG Mobile, right? Why would you do that? There is no reason. So you make those advantages where you can. You fall back off rotations where you don't want them. You just you cherry pick the fights you want, and that's exactly what I think you are highlighting that they were doing. So we'll be looking out for them to continue to do that. We can see the addicts as well. They have to move just a little bit to the west, up towards Hacienda del Patron, as the next circle does shift a little bit that way. We've also got Crater Fields, where you can see KEKW, another one of our high-up teams on the leaderboard, just holding that eastern lip of the crater, but they do have HWU up in La Cobreria to worry about if they do opt to push on through. ECG still split up. BR, I believe, are also still diametrically split across the zone. So they do have sort of 2 horses in the race, or rather 2 snakes in the race, as the way they might like to play it.
Let's have a look at Strathclyde Striders here, or Arctic as they are known in game. They have been a team that has been surprising. They've been up and down a little bit like older mobs. Now they're pushing on to Benja. I think they actually got the knock on to Benja here, long range. And they might go and push on to take that kill, confirm it, pick up a point for them. I've been quiet on Miramar so far, to be honest, have Strathclyde Striders, but they are pushing onto the south side of the circle here, relatively uncontested. We're looking to see if they can play another smart game, maybe come out on top. I don't think they're in as good of a rotational position as they were previously, but that can obviously change depending on where the circle lands in the next few moments.
Now, I have one issue with how they're rotating right now. They're on foot. This is Miramar. I don't know if anyone's told them, but vehicles is certainly in this second circle are super important. The amount of cover you can create just by placing those vehicles intelligently is invaluable, because Miramar is predominantly a terrain-based map. You're more than likely going to be finishing up playing on a hillside, in a little divot, by a rock, something like that. And having that vehicle extension to that cover is invaluable. It gives you so much more maneuverability. It gives you so many more angles you can peek from, which just increases the chance that they aren't looking your way as soon as you poke your head over and you lose your head as soon as you breathe. But it's one of those things where you can sort of just play super passive and not want anyone to know where you are. But in general, the benefits from having a vehicle outweigh the negatives from people being able to track your rotations maybe a little bit easier.
Well, let's keep an eye on University of Stirling. They're actually pretty close to UCL, as I think they are in relative range of the addicts as well. So we could have a 3-way pincer movement here around University of Stirling. UCL are pushing into this compound, or at least around this compound from the east. And UCL, they are the team that completely wiped Johnny off the face of the map. So they have got a couple of kills to their name already.
Yeah, looks like Ajinkya. Is that how you say it? Ajinkya?
Which one are we looking? Maybe.
I don't know. He was on the screen before, but
when it comes back, I'll have a look.
he was looking at his teammate there. I don't know if anyone told him it was a friendly in the car, but
he's just testing his headshots, Yeah. Although I say that, actually, a couple of members of Johnny's still going. So it was only 2 members of Johnny that got knocked out. And now Simba, who has escaped, I think they escaped in a vehicle. They're now taking a couple of shots at Keck W. I haven't actually seen much from Keck W, but it is a fight for that crate on the hillside here. But with a car, you never want to get into a long-range battle with Miramar with someone who's got a car, especially as Keck W didn't feel confident taking that long-range fight. They have got all members left alive. They are split across the map right now, but it looks like they are looking to rejoin on the northeast side, or northwest side, rather, of the circle.
I would not want to be on that motorbike right now, especially on those hillsides. It's so risky to make that, but it's all they've got, and they will be using it to the best of their advantage. That western hillside near the Crater Fields is actually really quite powerful for these next few circles, so we'll see how that pays off for them, but a little bit of a close quarter combat coming in for UCL.
Instead, they were pushing in, and actually the addicts there as well. University of Stirling. Hazard has been pretty solid for them so far. We'll have to see if they can bite back. I think UCL still split out, and actually University of Stirling trying to encircle those 2 members of UCL. As UCL Ghost gets taken out from the side, that flank came out from Assaulter. And Hazard as well, keeping tabs on Clade coming in. He's got the long-range shots. Clade gets knocked very low, 95% HP gone already, and Nano desperately moving in to save Ghost, but the University of Stirling flank has worked out for the time being. I think Nano doing his best to try and resurrect his team, but 3 members go down. Clade, now the only remaining member, but he knows exactly where he is, and University of Stirling will try and lock him down. They'll get the team wiped. Brilliant flank play from Stirling. They'll get the Johnny killers and take out the entire squad.
They will be taking 8 kills now as well to their name already this early on. It's quite the feat to be able to get that. Nicely done for them. They're looking to try and climb up the leaderboards and see where they can place towards the end. Of course, I believe we're in the penultimate week of this tournament, so, you know, now's the time. If you're going to show up, do it right now. But it was really well played from them. They spread out, they created that baseline, and then they moved around the sides to close in that flank, create that kill zone in the middle of them. Very, you know, solid maneuvers to be able to just completely control the battleground, and they were allowed to do it, so it paid off beautifully.
UWL, again, just very safe compound play here. They are, I think, are they around Power Grid right now? Can't quite see exactly where they are. I think they might be a little bit further north of that, but irrespective, they haven't had much action apart from that first engage, taking out the young boys very early on. Again, they've been playing mostly replacements at this point in time, and they're very happy to just chill out. No, they're San Martin still. Are they still San Martin?
Not sure. This is the southwest side of the circle, so I think it's just to the southeast of Crater Fields.
Yeah,
we're looking at currently for Johnny anyway.
Here we go. Get the ice. Yeah, they are just in San Martin, just near Hacienda del Patron. They're in the northwest side. They have really moved very little from the early game here, but they haven't had to. They've been very lucky with the circle placement. Their drop was perfect for the circle placement, but now teams are starting to move in. Keck W on the northwest side, HWU also there, although they've taken a couple of hits, it looks like. Johnny split up all over the place. I think Johnny now locked into a fight with Strathclyde Striders, Krollel and Johnny himself actually there, and there's some shots coming out, I think, towards HT. UWL locked into a fight.
Ooh, they've already been knocked. Saint has gone down, taken a knee there behind the crate from T up on the hill there. Team 9.
This is the team that knocked out Kent. And they get a long-range shot. 2 members of UWL going down. And again, no matter how good you are, there is very little cover when trying to save your teammates in this situation. And there is a great height advantage for Savage Sun and the squad. I never know what this team is called, actually. Every time I cast it, they just have no indication of what this team is called. And they lock down, suppressing fire onto Cable. All 4 members taking pot shots. This might give some space now to UWL to go for some resurrects, and Atom now working his way over to Sile. That is what he's going to try and do. He will have time to get that off. And that will allow them to try and find a fight back here against a very strong team.
It was actually the Orm up the top of the hill as well, so they'd managed to get that crate weapon, and on Miramar, the Orm probably one of the strongest you can get from those crates. Maybe the MK14 would be a little bit better for you, but it looks like they are just going to allow Saint to go down here. There's no real way they can get there to try and get that res, and UWL, we know that they like to play those 99% games, as we say, and try and get away with it, so they'll take that L, and they'll try and get those placements for later on in the game.
Cable just locked behind that rock right now. What can UWL do to save him? I love the positioning coming out from Son and Mercer and the team. They're just using that east side of west side of the ridge to give them protection from the remainder of the UWL squad. They do have that long-range fight going on. You can see Arctic actually locked up into a battle with ECG Senior actually getting the knockdown. KEKW also coming in for a flank. And they will clean up Arctic. So Stratified Striders, they are down to 1 right now. And I think that's the entire team knocked out by KEKW. Another one of our big hitters caught out in the open on Miramar. How many teams are going to perish to the lack of cover that the majority of the Miramar map has?
They will go down, but KEKW continue to try and push up the table with you. Kent going down early as well. That's really good for them in terms of that close fought battle that we were talking about earlier, Scoundrel. They're just going to get so many more points on the board. Moving all the way up to 10th now, you're going to start laddering up, getting those points when teams drop down. 34 alive as well, which means that on average, you're playing with about 3 players a team. So, you know, those numbers have greatly diminished. BR, they were split 2 and 2, and they've already lost one of those. And it looks like they're under fire pretty heavily from KEKW here. And actually, they spot UWL as well.
Yeah, UWL Atom trying to get a flank onto BR. KEKW again playing spoiler to a lot of our top performing teams as Krolkul pushes in. Maybe keeps Sile busy as the rest of KEKW push in. Atomical picks up the kill. Actually, the Addict's getting some knocks on to Portsmouth as well. There is action everywhere as Cable picks up a kill. He actually fights back from behind that rock to the team that was locking him down over there. This is a wild, wild firefight across the board. The Addicts also locked into a firefight here as well. They'll pick up another kill. They're very close to the University of Stirling, who have been absolutely brilliant this game so far. I mean, I can barely keep up with the action as this circle moves in and teams are just continuously being threatened from every angle.
Hazard just watching their back, watching the blue, that now they have this hillside. It's a really strong overlook onto pretty much everything around them. The only threat they have is from that compound just ahead of them. But at the moment, UWL, they still have 3 players, and they are a team that, even with 3, has a massive amount of bite behind them. So will be a tricky fight to take. It looks like KEKW, they've already tried to go out wide and go for those flanks. They've sent one in, they've sent one on that backside, and now it looks like they're trying to get an overlook, but Cheerslove really under the fire.
Oh, Atom tries to find a flank here. Now Sile jumps in. They're very confident in those close quarters, and unfortunately, the rest of KEKW not there to back them up. They are split, and KEKW actually looking like they're abandoning their comrade in that compound. And now Hazard by himself is being left by the majority of his team as the rest of Atomical and Firecracker looking to push into a central compound here. Savage Sun and TA actually locked out off the top of that mountain. They've lost 2 members to Cable, by the way. That one member of UWL locked behind the rock. He did manage to find 2 kills onto the team that was putting him under duress. And UWL have got themselves out of a very sticky situation to keep themselves very competitive in this game so far.
Kingstonian now occupying a very central warehouse will be crucial for this final ends towards the circle. They do have UWL very close to them and KEKW, 2 very, very strong teams. But oh, beautiful shots coming out from Hazard.
Oh, Savage Sun is Kingstonian. That makes so much sense because they've performed very well over the course of the last few weeks. And they're having a good game so far. Couldn't quite take out UWL. I think they had a good chance there as Cable gets the knock. I think he's going to get a kill onto TA as well. Savage Sun goes down. Cable wipes the entire Kingstonian squad. And now UWL still have 3 members left alive. They are locked into a compound opposite KEKW. This team are playing brilliant PUBG Mobile so far. Really just cleaning up and preying on the more inexperienced members.
Sayal still pretty split from the rest of his squad, but seems to be a one-man army. We saw the 3-man spray down he got on earlier and was able to get out of the frying pan and avoid the fire, it seems. So now the zone will shrink towards them. Yet again, they have a really nice spot here. They need to deal with KEKW, however, as they are the only competition they have who are really on the cards for taking that hilltop. The Addicts might want to try and push up whilst they're taking that.
The Addicts are getting fired on by someone. Difficult to tell who. Johnny has been eliminated. HWU over to the northwest. They've got University of Stirling over to the east. And Sile goes down here, gets knocked, separated from his team, so that's going to knock UWL down to 2, and now the Addicts pushing as well. Smoke's going out left. Hazard was taken very low by the circle, but does manage to heal up and keep himself competitive and able to potentially rejoin his team later on as Atomical crouches down. Hazard, there's 2 Hazards actually. University of Stirling Hazard as well, also keeping eyes on that compound. Damn, this is a very, very, very tense late game here in Miramar, all centered around a compound to the north of San Martin.
Yeah, it's
and
just
I
to the
think
west
we're going
of
to
it.
see an explosive. Sorry, yeah, we're going to see an explosive late game here.
Certainly, I think that it's going to be pretty open, and in fact, the late game might come a little bit earlier because of that. A lot of teams going to struggle to find those divots, find those ditches that they can hide in. Hazard taking that fight, will be able to take it down. Gets himself a kill. 6 kills now for KEKW, so a really strong turn up for them, especially considering, remember, Kent went out very, very early on.
University of Stirling pushing in. Atomical already low. The stairs salted, as you can see. The frag grenade comes through, the smoke there as well. He dives down looking for some short-range fights, but can't find them. An immediate back out from Stirling, and that should allow some time for Atomical to get taken up here. And University of Stirling are not confident enough to make that play and go for the assault on the top side of this building. And Atomical now. The nade coming through here. University of Stirling blocking out because UWL want nothing to do with this fight. They're very happy to wait this one out. Hazard on the outside as well. He is the remaining hope for KEKW if this doesn't go in their favor. And there are still 2 teams fighting on the outside, the Addicts and HWU2. This is difficult to keep up with whatever's going on right now, as Atom tries to take out that minibus there just to prevent it from being used to rotate quickly into the central circle.
The party bus is dismantled. They will not be able to spin up the Venga boys and get it going, but they will have to try and push down the hill nonetheless and into the waiting arms of UWL, who are down to 2 players, by the way. The Addicts seem to be playing a dominant force atop this hillside, but they have to move. They have to move pretty sharpish. They've only got 40 seconds before this circle closes off.
Hazard out in the open. He will go down here. He'll get knocked through. KEKW Firecracker picks up Wang here as HW usually picks up Hazard. And actually, it's like shooting fish in a barrel as Atomical finds that overhead look down into the first floor story. And again, UWL completely unfazed with this fight going on between KEKW and University of Stirling. They are happy to let them kill each other as Firecracker goes down. He walks into the fire of 2. And now it is Atomical, the last remaining member, as he doesn't manage to find the firefight with Hazard. That mini Uzi is so powerful in close range, and KEKW will wave goodbye in 4th place. As now Atom for UWL looking to take the Addicts on 1v1. He actually goes down, and Addicts, they play upset. Cable now pushing in, maybe trying to look for revenge on his teammate. He'll have to go for a 3, but we've seen UWL do it before. The shots coming in to give away his position as Popcorn has a good look at him. He jumps through the window. He jumps through the window. The madman goes down for it straight away. And Cable now immediately having to move back. He tries to go for Hazard now. This is an absolute cluster around this central warehouse, but somehow Cable is coming out on top. He's going to get the kill. Confirm it here. Onto, I believe, one of the Addict members is just Sphinx left alive. Are we going to get a breather in this action? Because it is so very tense right now. As Ajinka now going head-to-head with Sphinx, who can't find the kill. And now it is Cable versus Spherix.
Cable has had the time to heal up. He will be at the health advantage. Spherix now needs to try and have the element of surprise on his side as his teammate gets cleared out.
Oh, Cable doesn't get the spray. Takes a lot of damage. Is he going for the kill? No, Spherix takes it, and Addicts get 1st place. Deserved after their last 2 performances, I feel, and finally claiming a winner chicken dinner.
Really nicely done from them. They were able to push down that hillside. UWL, if they'd have had that extra player from earlier, if Sile had made it through, maybe things would have been different. But with 2 players, they were taken down. But in the end, they managed to do very, very well. They came into 2nd, right? They managed to hold down that warehouse against pretty much everyone trying to run straight at them. So really beautifully done by them. Again, a great performance, and I'm ready to see what they've got for us on Sandhawk. I think it's going to be great to continue to watch these guys. But the Addicts, praises to them. They did very, very well. As the same with KEKW, they had some really good positioning towards the end of that game.
I think you are playing the game that we know them to play, the safe, steady, top 3 performances that we expect from a team in first place, and they will go very happily into Sandhawk with 2 great finishes on Erangel and on Miramar. We're going to go to a quick break. When we are back, we'll be diving into the more explosive map on PUBG, and we'll look towards Sandhawk. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to PUBG Mobile Campus Championships. My name is Scandal, joined by John Allen, and we are diving into Sandhawk, which is our third map of the day. A bit more firefighty, more gun skill heavy, a lot of action, a lot of explosiveness, and it's going to be a bit of a change of pace from Miramar, our last map.
Yeah, we saw a couple of teams that are towards the top of the tables go down in early fights. Some of the teams that maybe we think are a little bit stronger, for instance, Oldham Ops took a tumble a little bit too early for their liking, so maybe that strength in the gunfight will be their saviour here on Sandhawk. Obviously, Kingstonian, they've stayed a solid fifth pretty much throughout, but the Addicts, with a really strong showing on Miramar, are now within that 10-point margin that is relatively easily closed over the number of games we have remaining. But really, the headline is that University of West London, they've got a 64-point lead here, and I don't know who's going to be able to close that. I mean, KEKW and University of Kent both may be able to do it, but they will need a miracle. To be able to do that, you're going to need to average more than, 8-9 points more than University of West London per game. And that is a really, really tall order with this quality of rotations, with the solidity of the way that they're playing being considered. I just don't see University of West London allowing someone to do that.
No, I agree. I think University of West London are in a very, very good position. It feels almost insurmountable at the top of the table at this point in time. But something to note that University of KEKW, rather PUBG Mobile KEKW, beat out University of Kent and have garnered a very small lead over them right now in the standings because of how well they placed. Look at this path. Northside Sandhawk. Now, it's not too bad for Sandhawk. It's a smaller map, so you can kind of get where you want to. But this is a very north-heavy drop coming out from this particular plane.
Yeah, as you say, though, it's Sandhawk. You can pretty much go anywhere at any time. Camp Charlie, maybe Bantai off the cards, but if you really wanted to, you could still get there and still be okay, because remember, the rotations are shorter as well, so it's a twofold advantage in terms of being able to go out a little bit further. I'm surprised that less people are actually dropping on that northwestern island. Only Snake have done so. You've got Camp Alpha, you've got Hatin, you've got some really solid compounds around there, so everybody moving away is going to give Snake some really good spots. The question is, did they notice if any other teams joined them on making that drop, or are they going to be playing cautiously and not really take advantage of that situation?
I don't know. I mean, I think you could have just had a brief look in the sky, keep your eyes on who was dropping, but I think a lot of people did fly out of the plane very early on, so unless Snake were constantly looking at where those drop locations came out, they may be playing a little bit more carefully than they would do otherwise. Loads and loads and loads of teams down on the southwest island there. That is a surprise. I suppose there isn't even that much around there to loot, because obviously Painan has actually been occupied by UWL. They're actually going to lock into VR very early on here, but there isn't actually that much to loot on the sort of the location where you're seeing maybe 5 or 6 teams. The ruins maybe, but that's got ECG in it. I'm a little bit surprised. Didn't expect that many people to be heading to that portion of the map. As Young actually locked into a very early firefight here. You can see they're around Paradise Resort, one of the more prime high-tier loot locations, and Young already trying to take on Kingstonian. I think Young might even just be out Kingstonian and take a very early squad wipe.
Yep, they get 4 kills. That is them done. And Paradise Resort, they're going to be happy. They'll be able to go celebrate that one. But there are still plenty of other teams in their way. So a good start indeed. And Paradise Resort, a very strong place to be rotating from. The Northern Circle as well might favour them just a little bit if they want to cut off rotations.
I think I saw University of Kent down in Quarry as well. I think they were the only team in Quarry. So a little bit more spread out in terms of looting, but they will have that the entire building to themselves. Looks like HWU are actually very close by to the University of UCL. So UCL again just trying to find an early fight to get an immediate knock. Oh, yeah,
he's getting
an immediate knock.
And Uzi as well, trying to run for cover over the hill. Knight has already made it away. I don't think he's going to come back. Certainly no shining armor in sight for him, but will Ghost be able to strike? Yet again, they've already got the first knock. And we'll see if they're able to get any more. I don't think they're going to be able to capitalize too much, but UCL really laying claim to this location.
I wonder if they're going to be able to get the rest there. It's kind of out in the open. UCL have got the height advantage. They might struggle to actually get the res on to Mr. Dye, I think he's probably in a rough spot right now. They may end up losing a member very early on here, HWU.
I don't think they're going to be able to push out and get that res. As I said, Knight was already away. They are playing with 3 players. Losing another would be disastrous. And on Sandhawk, you need that other person to hold at least some of your flank so you can sometimes go for those bad out of hell plays and see what more you can get. So info gathering is the name of the game for the downed HWU players. Be able to spot if they leave from this compound, but not too much more doing there.
Let's have a look at the circle. It is a northwesterly circle. It looks like University of Kent are actually locked up into an engage with one of the members from Portsmouth. I think he will go down very quickly, so University of Kent pick up another kill. But not many, obviously Sandhawk, you can rotate from anywhere, but Snake are in a good spot. They have the entire northwest island to themselves. They're going to rotate out towards Hartin and probably head towards the north side of the circle, because remember, when you have the shore as a backing, you're actually locking off one of the locations that you can get flanked from. So, using the shore in Sandhawk with the circles is a really nice way to ensure that you have a good hold-up location and maybe putting yourself in a favorable position for upcoming fights. And I think Snake are in a good spot to do that.
The Pine-9 rotation being controlled by UWL, this is really solid, especially given the number of teams that started on that southwestern island. The circle, maybe not favoring them in terms of cutting those off, but if it had gone easterly, it would have been even better for them, and they might have been able to pick up some kills. So we'll see how they're able to play it on the edge.
Let's keep an eye on Will from University of Kent. He has already got 1 kill to his name. One of the members of Portsmouth, unfortunately, looting by himself and picked off by the members from University of Kent. Will has had some brilliant games, picking up the kills here and there, but unfortunately Miramar, he was unable to find the 1v4 play versus, I believe it was the University of Stirling that caught him out eventually. We'll have to see. He's actually, they have classically performed well on Sandhawk because it is a more gun skill heavy map, and obviously being a PMCO player, Will has that in abundance.
He's certainly one of the more solid players, as we've highlighted time and time again. So being able to peek those corners properly, being able to go for it is really, really important. And playing around those rocks, being able to go for those smart rotations could be really strong. But UWL looking to maybe go for their first clash here against ECG. Don't know if they spotted them out. Oh, I think he's just seen Benji. Yep, they're going to be aware of this now. Soyal, so devastating over on Miramar, looking to try and continue on Sandhawk.
Yeah, and ECG just playing a little bit more carefully here. They looking like they want to rotate out of this fight. One member of ECG out on the south side here. He needs to be a little bit careful. He is out in the open. That's Benja, and he's going to quickly find solace behind those huts, trying to use the rocks where he can. But actually, Cable getting him locked down here, John.
Yeah, they're going to be able to spot him out. They've pinned him down just a little bit. It's now on the rest of ECG to try and get him out of this sticky situation. You can see, though, UWL are aware of what can happen, and Saint is going to spot out the next push coming in from Stent to try and back up his teammate. They don't want to cross the river here. That would be probably the worst decision they can make. So they're going to try and take this fight for as long as they can over the water. Going aggressive here, unnecessary, and would be over-aggressive, certainly, to put it lightly. And so I don't think we're going to see too many flushes come through. You might see a pick happen, but I don't think we'll have more than that.
Arctic are hovering fairly close by, as I remember seeing Arctic on the very south side of the map. They are going to be pushing up towards ECG. They are on ECG's side of the river here, which is actually beneficial for UWL because another flank play could essentially flush out the ECG roster, who have seemingly pulled up together now, trying to escape the grasps of the UWL roster, who have been oh so deadly, and Saint trying to keep tags on here, as BR as well, Achilles, who has had some stand-up performances as a solo player. Smoke is going to come through, I think, to provide cover for UWL as they just flat out run across the bridge here.
I said this was probably unnecessarily aggressive, but it seems like they've made it happen. Maybe they clocked the rotation from ECG. Maybe they weren't aware of BR being in the wings, but they will make it nonetheless. The spray down from Saint hits one. The fight with BR on the opposite flank really not doing well for them. They did get the knock, but they lose one player in the process. Now UWL continue to try and bulldoze their way through, try and take control of this southwestern island, and control that peninsula for themselves. Another knock onto ECG, his senior falls.
Yeah, and I think ECG now just trying to find a bit of breathing room here, getting pincered by BR, and UWL is not the situation that they wanted to find themselves in. UWL, like a tiger, just trying to hunt down its prey. They see a smither of blood, and they are after it, and you can see now push on to DDG. They find that kill, and now looking to potentially to put further pressure on BR as well, who are split up and isolated, and UWL, like a moving pack, will look to find every flank opportunity and take those easy kills.
Now, certainly spread out. So over-aggression may be working out for them here. And I know, you know, this is Sandhawk, so I don't know why I'm that surprised that taking those fights is panning out for a team that ostensibly is the best team here. We'll see if they can continue to roll it on through. Not too many people are going to stand in that way. This short bridge up towards that northwestern island is actually quite easy to cross. You can even go underneath it, so they'll be able to do that pretty much no problem.
I think UWL are very well aware of the level of competition that they're facing. Very few teams are holding the choke points. Very few teams are looking for bridge plays or rotational cutoffs. They're so happy to just run out in the open, in some of these more like kill zone oriented areas. BR caught out by the Strathclyde Striders. And I think this would just be a mercy kill. I mean, Hazy maybe even just... Is he just going for like a long-range frag grenade kill here?
That's the style points there for Hazy. Lands the frag. Hazy MT 97. He's, how old? 22, I think, but he's going to be dead now, so short-lived.
UWL are so clever with just keeping information on the rest of the teams that are surrounding them. They've got a good eyes on Hazy here, as Arctic or Strathclyde Striders are just looking to make a rotational play around that push circle, pushing in from the south side here. UWL slow and calculated, though. They've had a very good game so far, and they are our first place team. We're actually going to bounce over to BR, the last remaining member, as he gets encircled by a couple of the members from the Strathclyde Striders.
Not going to be having too many paddles at his disposal on that creek, so we'll see what he's able to get done. Arctic, though, they have got their scout out in the form of Akshay, and he's spotted out UWL. I don't think he wants to take this fight, but the rest of Arctic, they're just over the way, and they have been spotted out as well.
Yeah, Saint just keeping tabs on the other side of that river to make sure if they do go out into the open, they're not going into the firing line of Arctic. Ashk is just basically performing reconnaissance right now. Again, going 1v4 as actually some shots come back here. Ashk takes those initial fires, and UWL, they're getting locked into a fight here potentially, John.
They have been spotted out, and they don't have too much to work with, but there's nobody really behind them further inland, because, of course, no one really landed on that northwestern island. So now they have to try and just hole up in this warehouse.
I think there's a flank play coming out from the Strathclyde Striders here. Ashk has tried to pin UWL in, and the Strathclyde Striders are actually making a long rotation south to the west, and are going to try and catch out UWL off guard. Potentially, this could be huge if they get the jump on UWL, who are completely concerned with those shots that came from the north side of that compound.
Looks like UWL are continuing to run around, maybe a couple of nades being thrown on through now. They have spotted out close up to Akshay. Will get the first knock, but it's going to go down with the spray from the M4. They know which Rocky's behind. Atom swings out wide. Saint behind a tree has some cover, but he's taking damage from all fronts. Akshay pretty much alone and nobody with him. His team's across the water. He's going to have to try and play the left side of the rock now. A nice Molotov, and there comes the knock. Sayal takes it down, and he is eliminated on that flank, which just secures UWL all the more as the rest of Arctic looking to try and pick up some pieces here.
Oh, they just weren't quick enough on the flank here. I think the actual play could have been brilliant. They just needed to be about 30 seconds ahead of where they were in that rotation. Unfortunately, Ashk could not defend 1 versus 4. Good of him to get the knock and a bit of damage down, but the rest of his team were not in position to make that work. And now we're looking at older mops. They're actually just flushing out snakes.
Call them St. Patrick, because they're getting rid of Sandhawk. They're getting rid of snakes from Sandhawk at the moment. It's not going well for them. Catfinks has to run around. Catfinks, that's a cartoon character, isn't it?
I have no idea.
Oh,
I'm
no,
too
that's
old.
Batfink. That's Batfinks.
I'm still big blank, mate. I'm 29 this year. I just don't know. I just don't know anymore. Don't know what the kids talk about.
It's a very old cartoon anyway, so
well, I'm too young for that then, John. Too young. I'm only 29. Don't know what the old people talk about these days.
Okay, fair enough. Well, Kingstonian, they know exactly what's up, it seems. Mobile gamers, the lot of them, and they will be able to get a couple of kills more. 8 now on the boards. Of course, we saw them get a wipe early over in Paradise Resort, and now they are continuing to roll through. Very frag heavy, it seems.
Yeah, and a couple of kills you see there, and Catfinks, he will back off. He's getting shot, but Snake know when they're beat, and they will retreat and actually split up and get out of that situation. Maybe just trying to find and gather some kind of placement win here, or placement points, although Catfinks takes a couple of long-range shots and has to dive behind cover here. Not quite out of the woods just yet.
Not going to be able to get away with it completely scot-free, but they'll be all right for now. KEKW really in a great spot right now, have control of most of that northern peninsula. Really let the challenge.
Have a look at Will. He takes a shot. He actually knocks out one of the University of Sterling members. Jinka will go down. I think they'll just confirm the kill. The rest of his team, unfortunately, having to sacrifice him. And Will, I think he's got the AUG here.
That's the QBZ.
Oh, the QBZ. Sorry, yeah, similar looking to the AUG, but a little bit more fancy.
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit closer range. The AUG actually only spawning in the weapon crates, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, it is unique to Sanhok though. So there's a fun fact. But he's able to use it nonetheless. Doesn't matter what it is. He still was able to get the kill with it.
Absolutely.
2 now for their team. University of Kent will be happy with that.
They're not going to go for a bigger fight with the University of Stirling. And actually, Stirling just blaze past the final member of Portsmouth, who is held up in one of these compounds, not willing to move. Actually in a good position in the circle too. And as you said, KEKW, ECG, they picked up, at least what Stent randomly has picked up a boat and is now making a long rotation round to the north side of the circle. He's had a solid play here. Looks like Strathclyde Striders are going to run into Arctic Ops and the Addicts on that northwest island, of which Snake were cleared out of, despite having it all to themselves in the early game. And Stent going even further, just really trying to push himself out, way of harm's way, essentially, I think.
This is a strategy we actually saw employed in the BMCO, heading out really far north, going all the way around and beaching up further round. It was Purple Mood, I believe, in the spring season last year of the PMCO that used it to great effect and were able to break through the prelims using it predominantly as one of their main rotation routes. So looks like they've been watching, or they've just guessed that it's a good idea. They are 1-on-1 split currently, so not too happy. But Arctic Hazy finds Ali, no problem, no bother, gets the knock. Will spot out a lot of the other players as well. Pushes up towards the rock, tries to go for it. Nado playing up close, and he makes the cover.
Yeah, he will make the cover here, but actually Hazy's got good eyes on a couple of members of the ops team. They were trying to hold the bridge, but they were out in the open, John. And that is just basically easy pickings for a team like Strathclyde Striders, who have been so lethal in these kind of ranges against even our top teams.
And we'll be able to find it. You can see how well they're spreading out as well. They're moving in pairs. They're moving up on the aggression. They know where they're going to be and where they're going to be fighting against. He's trying to use the gaps in the wall to his advantage as they are going for those peaks. Is he aware of the player just across the road? That's the question. Still 4 versus 4 as they do manage to get the res. It's all going to be on Nado across the way, really, to try and play spoiler to this push from Arctic. Otherwise, I don't see it going their way. They might just come a cropper, but they're pushing down. They're playing back and playing passive.
Yeah, I think Arctic Strathclyde Striders just happy to take a more informational reconnaissance style rotation here, try and gather as much information about the ops locations as possible. They have all clumped up on the north side of this bridge, however, just trying to find any kind of eyes on the Oldham ops roster. Remember, the Addicts are actually not too far away. The Addicts have actually crossed over now onto the circle side island. Long range shots, and actually they'll take out Snake here. So you just saw Snake go down, and that was the Addicts that picked up that kill.
They were going to eliminate them as well. That was the full team wipe. Of course, we saw them losing a lot of players early on the Snake squad, so that was the wipe. Now, University of... I've already forgotten which unit. You're giving it over to me. Sterling, that's the one. University of Sterling will have spotted out that firefight, but KEKW are in the wings as well. And I don't think they're aware, given the direction that all of Sterling are looking at, I just don't think that they know that University, that KEKW, sorry, are waiting here.
I don't think they do, and you can see Assaulter run straight past Firecracko They'll get the knock immediately, and looks like the fight's going to continue, John.
They pushed out with Wang, and he is going to go down, unfortunately. And he will get knocked on down. I think KW, they're just going to be able to confirm both of these kills with not too much bother, but they do have to be worried from further down the hill. Maintaining that fire line, though, from up top just pins everyone in. The addicts as well are waiting to get in. The zone closes towards Tatmok.
It looks like we're going to have a lot of people collapsing around Portsmouth who are holed up in those compounds just on the south side of Tatmok. HW there as well as University of Kent and UWL. They're all shoving in. Johnny, who we've seen nothing from, have just randomly appeared on the south side of Circle. They've been in no fight so far, but you can see Malek is chasing up the University of Kent right now. Maybe to get eyes on them, maybe to go for a cheeky little fight. We don't know.
Oh, there's Sterling just getting plinked away. There's the that cheeky little EBR, the MK14. Coming in for Hazard from a loot crate. That level 3 helmet as well, just rattling it down. Beautifully done. Johnny coming a cropper a little bit as well on that south side as UWL get yet another to their name.
Oh, the MK14 EBR is just insane. It's such a good weapon. One of my favorites actually when I play.
It's such a solid DMR. Like it is the best DMR in the game, and I think you have to pick it up. It's mandatory.
If you can get your hands on a crate, then obviously it's just fantastic as UWL pushing into that Portsmouth compound.
Oh, I'm surprised Cable didn't get it on the first spray with the barrel, but was able to get it the second time around, as I don't think Portsmouth really were waiting for that one properly. And they are just going to push on in. Saint clamps it down. 6 kills now total for UWL as 9 teams remain, which means the placement points will start to rack up.
UWL in a great position once more, and they are going to be moving in towards the University of Kent, who are just on the south side, being chased up by Johnny.
I think the addicts just got eliminated.
I think the addicts did. I think KEKW must have either Oldham Ups or KEKW must have cleared them up because they were stuck between those two on the northwest side of the circle. But I'm keeping eyes on south. That is where we're interested. That is where University of Kent are being flanked from every single direction. Johnny, UWL, and HWU. This is going to be a rough situation for Kent, and it will essentially have to do most of the work himself here.
Very, very tricky, but here comes the man of the hour. Johnny will get sprayed down, will playing the angle beautifully. Maybe even looking to res up his teammate. He might be a one-man army, but he certainly needs his friends. But no, he just runs away. Leaves it for the rest of the squad. Tries to get to the rock, but Kingstonians will hold the way. They plant their King Stone right at the top of the mountain and say no further. Shall you go? The knock is there. Look at the rest.
And actually, Kingstonians doing a good job of... No, UWL gets the wipe on. Kent is another one of those contenders knocked out here, but there's a big firefight opening up between Kingstonian and UWL, John.
Oh, 2 knocks already over onto the Kingstonians, but the spray from the top not quite going to be there. Now it's just 1 player left for the Kingstonian squad, and he's looking out towards the remaining Johnny member. Not going to be able to spot him out. Instead, goes over to his team, looking for those reses. KEKW, they want those reses as well. They want to play as 4. They want to move as 4. The unit stays strong as HWU is bearing down as well.
Yeah, HWU, we don't see too much of them, but they are in the flank position here versus UWL. Looks like some reses will come out for the Kingstonian squad. Low HP bars as grenades getting flung left, right, and center here, John. This could be crazy.
This will be a test of UWL's mettle. Will they be able to mount the hill, head up top, and deal with Kingstonian all the while? 2 players on their side with nades all around their belt, it seems, just flying straight past their ears. All of the Kingstonian players up and kicking, but it seems like UWL, they aren't super keen to go aggressive.
I think Kingstonian roster, they are trying to hold the top here, gets knocked out again. Cable just finding the headshot. I mean, I'm so impressed with UWL as Sile actually goes down here.
But Saint's dealing with the flank beautifully, gets both of them, and now that opens the floodgates. UWL clearing that threat out means that they can push towards Kingstonian. There's 2 players up for them, and the rest of UWL still moving forwards. They're getting the res again, playing as 4, playing those 99% engagements already. 1 goes down though to the nade, and it looks like that might have been a confirmation. No, it was just a re-knock onto Sial, and they get the res again. So 3 players now holding the line for Kingstonian as Cable leads the charge in. Coming up for UWL, and once more they go for the res.
Yeah, Kingstonian again just trying to clamber together as Cable out in the open.
Oh no! What was he doing? He thought he had the
He
shotgun.
had an open shot. I know, that's why I was literally like, he had the open shot, but Cable continues to push on.
And he keeps going, and it will be all he needs to do as he just rats straight through the Kingstonian side. They get eliminated. 3 teams remaining. Everybody else has been wiped in the meantime. And there's the spray down coming through. 2 teams now, as all that's left is Oldham Ops and UWL.
Yeah, Oldham Ops in the meantime, by the way, cleaned up the entire KEKW roster through very little, failure of their own. They lost almost nothing, and now Oldham Ops have the north side of the circle. UWL, after a very hefty firefight, almost certainly using a significant amount of their resources in that particular engage, and now it is Oldham Ops against UWL. But Oldham Ops have the advantage. UWL are completely out in the open. I think they're going to head over to that southwest compound. It is their only form of protection. Ops have got the advantage, though.
It's a really tricky rotation. Without those smokes, that utility that you were talking about earlier, Excoundrel, it's just going to be so hard. They need to win the firefights. That's the only way they get this here. Doesn't look like they're doing so.
Already Cable took a huge hit there. Ops have just kept their eyes on the UWL roster. But, I mean, even if UWL can't bring this back, it's another minimum second-place finish for this team that has been so dominant from the get-go. They know exactly where to play for the top 3 spots, and Ops seemingly locking them down. They have got 2 members over to this southwest compound now. I think Cable will drop, so it is going to be a 4 versus 2 scenario. UWL will have to pull out something special if they want to beat out Oldham Ops, who've got good hold on that North Locking compound.
Oh, this could change everything. With the zone as it is, this is a huge advantage to UWL. The road acting like a river here, a massive barrier to push for the Oldham squad. They need to leave the safety of where they've been holding, where their strength has come from, into a UWL squad that has 14 kills already. They are on a roll.
They are absolutely on a roll, but it is still a 2 versus 4 situation with Cable being knocked right now. I don't think UWL are going to risk a potential save in this scenario. Cable will just get confirmed kill by Nado. He was providing a lot of information on Nado's position here, as UWL are very well aware of his position behind that tree, and already you can see they are starting to make that flank move into the circle right now. John Saint and Atom doing what they can. Atom already knocked down to 40% HP, and the Ops DPS has split. They are looking for a big flank play.
I think they spotted out as well. Saint was there. He swings out wide, goes for the trade, but no! Oh, no, it's not Atom. He's going to be split apart there, unfortunately. Will go down. Now it's 1 versus 4, and it will not be doing. Oldham Ops able to take it home with the chicken dinner.
Yeah, Oldham Ops, they had a brilliant game. They wiped out KEKW. They get the win over UWL. They smelt blood in the water when they knocked Atom in the 1v1. They all encircled like sharks and took that win. Really, really clever stuff from Oldham Ops this game. And again, it's fitting. It's perfect. We literally talked about this on Miramar. We said, Oldham Ops, they are not a tactical team. They don't really play around rotations. But when it comes to straight up gun skill, you can never count this team out, and they absolutely delivered on the map that it mattered. And we actually said at the start of Miramar, when Oldham Ops got knocked out, it's not their map, Sandhawk's their map, and Sandhawk gets them the win.
Absolutely, and I think they were able to rack up, I think, 13 or 14 kills potentially at the end of that. We'll have to double check with that after the break, but yeah, I'm very impressed with how they were able to hold it down. Obviously, they had the advantage in that final circle, but at that point, both teams were really happy with that game. You know, 14 kills already for UWL, 11 kills I think at the start of that engagement for Oldham Ops. So either way, both of them come out of this a massive winner. They're going to be really happy with their performances.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, after we go to the break, we'll be heading into our final map, Vikendi. And I'm really interested to see how far Oldham Ops have potentially slingshot themselves up the standings. We'll catch up with you in a few minutes.
Hi.
Hey, buddy.
Yo, Mike, are you ready?
Wait. Should I go with the UMP9 or use it?
Sun's out, guns out.
Gear up for summer.
You ready?
Okay. Well,
Ready?
Sorry. I'm late.
Any plans for fall break?
Happy
graduation! You made it, bro. So proud of you.
Sorry I'm late. What a day.
I hear ya.
Get
Come
this.
on!
Hey!
Watch out! Take this!
That's
Hey!
a real battleground.
Are you ready?
Welcome back to PUBG Mobile Campus Championships. My name is Excoundrel, joined by John Allen, and we are heading into our final map of the night. It's going to be Vikendi, which is an interesting map. I would actually almost argue alongside Miramar might be one of my least favorites just because of how compound heavy it is. But we'll dive into that once we get there. Vikendi can be very spicy in the right circumstances, so we'll have to see how that game goes down exactly. Now, I believe we have the standings coming away very soon. We'll be able to see exactly who has ended up where. And PUBG Mobile Keck W, look at that, a huge amount of points. And Oldham Ops have leapfrogged University of Kent, John.
Yeah, they've done pretty good work there. They've managed to make it all the way up. Kingstonia, though, still the bastion of consistency over in 5th. The Addicts down there in 6th, that gap opening just a little bit from that previous game. Obviously, with Oldham Ops doing so well in that previous game, they are just now leaping over University of Kent, who I believe started the day in 2nd, if I'm not mistaken, or was it 3rd? I think
third. They're starting in 3rd, yeah.
It was one of the two. But now KEKW can start to open up that lead, try and play consistent, and against teams like Oldham Ops and University of Kent, who we know they are hypey, they are fraggers, right? You look at those ratios of points, you know that they like to go for those. That is risky on that is absolutely just so risky on Vikendi specifically, because of the way you take fights in compounds, it's even more of a coin flip than usual.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think I'm keeping an eye on Strathclyde Striders. I like on Strikers rather. I've been impressed by some of their games today, but they don't seem to have made much headway in the table. They've still got to get through. Oh, actually, to be fair, Heriot Watt and Strathclyde Strikers, there's only 1 point between them. I mean, they're tied with University of Stirling right now as well. So there is actually a lot of maneuverability in the middle portion of the table right now between 9th and 7th. So there could be some big moves made by some of these teams to get them into the top 7, top 6 potentially, depending on how the game goes. But University of West London, they are doing incredibly well, out with 81 points. I really don't feel like there's going to be much chance in catching them unless they have an absolutely disastrous last map and then a disastrous last week as well.
Yeah, it's going to be very tricky to catch them up, but we are seeing this clear top 6 emerge now towards the end. You have Addicts, Kingstonians, University of Kent, Oldham Ops, PUBG Mobile KEKW, and University of West London. They are the clear front runners, obviously head and shoulders above the rest. University of West London, they should start selling a shampoo brand. It seems like they've got that under their control.
We are about 60 seconds away from game, by the way, guys, so we'll be jumping into Vikendi, which has been moderately explosive. Most of when I saw this in the first week, Vikendi was an absolute bloodbath, mainly because we didn't see many people go for like the cross island choke points. We didn't see many people hold up on one side of the island and try and just go compound heavy, trying to prevent movement across the two islands. We really just saw people all jump onto the West Island and absolutely like full-on battle royale it out, like the Hunger Games style. Like they just went for it, and loads of teams ended up going out super early on. We'll have to see what kind of what kind of plane we get from Vikendi this time round, and whether that's going to be the case again. Very few of these teams like to play super compound heavy anyway. I do feel like we have quite a lot of aggressive players in this competition, even if they don't have the skill to back up that aggression. They're still going for it, and that's kind of what's been the difference in Miramar and Vikendi. And John, we've got a west to east plane here.
Yeah, it seems to be favouring those northern locations. Milnar Winery, maybe a little bit tricky to get to, but we're still small enough on the map that they can get down there. What we normally see, and certainly on the pro level of play for Vikendi, is teams moving very central in the circle, finding a compound and staying there as long as possible. Compounds favour the defender very heavily. You could third-person peek around the corners. It's almost impossible to push in successfully if you don't have the right utility usage, if you don't have those nades on point. So I'm expecting that to be maybe a little bit similar here. Whether or not teams move central is another thing entirely, because of course rotation's so hard moving through all of those teams in those compounds.
A lot of teams dropping onto the west side here. A couple of teams also late dropping out onto east, and we're going to see a couple of teams BR going over to the Cosmodrome. It looks like we're going to see UCL heading up towards Port. A lot of teams actually heading towards the central location. No one actually going straight for Castle here. Maybe KEKW. I mean, no one else is going for it. KEKW could get into Castle, which is a really good choke point to hold, especially if the circle does land on either the west or the east side island. KEKW might have a superior position to just kind of hold up and block that main route in from east to west.
Seems to be what the teams at the top like to do, get those rotations blocked, but Castle is very tricky. It's great to hold if people have to come to you, but it's almost impossible to leave if someone is holding against you. It really is a castle, and it is just a very difficult spot to play, so I'm not surprised they're not going straight to there, but holding the rotation around Tova, probably a little bit more viable for them.
Yeah, at least one guy has gone into Shears Love's headed into Castle, maybe just to scope it out. And honestly, Castle, if you're holding since the circle is now decidedly on the east-southeast, if you're holding the west side entrance to Castle, I mean, you could get a huge number of kills here if you're KEKW.
Potentially, yes. You're going to be looking out, but you've got to think later on. Not every team is going to rotate past you. People are going to be waiting for you as soon as you try and leave, and moving out east from the castle is pretty much a death sentence if people are looking your way.
It's very open. Yeah, it's very open. But then we have seen that in this particular competition, those kind of defensive choke point plays aren't really made. Like we've seen UWL very happily run across open bridges time and time again. So maybe if KEKW feel that that's the level of competition that they're working with, this could be a good way to get some kills and then find a way out. And they've already seen the addicts here, John, picking up some early kills.
Yeah, see if we'll have to keep an eye on what happens with those bold rotations. But Johnny not really having the best of luck around the villa. Neither are his friends either, as they have taken a little bit of heavy damage. I don't think they managed to confirm the kill there, so they're looking for the res. Oh, no, wait, there was one death there. That might have been the player who pushed up, but 3 players for Johnny. And at their back, though, that's Kingstonian. They will have heard those shots come through, so they'll be aware of something going on there.
And they will. We're going to keep our eyes on ECG. We haven't really followed these guys much throughout the tournament. They've generally split. I mean, have they split dropped again? They generally split drop every single map. There's a bit of an engage here going on with the addicts.
And there's Kingstonian taking the fight, and they already managed to get 1 knock. They are playing into 2 on that location, but you can see they're trying to flank out wide. Use that hillside, use the peaks over the little gaps in the wall to use it to their advantage. Oh no, he's vaulted. He goes for the spray. Will be able to get 1, turns around, looks for the second. I don't know if he managed to get it, but I think he does just go down. Gets confirmed as well. Kingstonian, they should have been able to hold that one down without getting knocked, but they will survive nonetheless. And the addicts now really, really dangerous for them. He spreads out wide with the Tommy gun. Will be able to roll it down, and that's the addicts out.
The addicts are gone. Rest in peace, boys. You will not get any further in Vikendi so far, and this is what I talked about. There's a lot of early action with Vikendi. A lot of people drop into those same locations, and got to be honest, great result for Kingstonian. Extra kills needed to leapfrog a little bit further up those standings. You can see KEKW, you were right. They were kind of one member holding Castle just to kind of see what's going on, but most of them were holding up in Tovar, and they are very close to UWL. If KEKW meet UWL and get knocked out early, this would not be a good result for them, considering they're doing so well in the standings. And again, more fights happening.
Aggression from Oldham Ops really not going their way. 2 of them going down already, confirmed as well. So it's just now a 2 versus 3 by the looks of it for HWU, who are only 3 players strong. Oldham Ops super aggressive here, but maybe they shouldn't have been. They've already lost 2, trying to peek around the door. He knows exactly where he is. The pre-fire there from Uzi, not going to quite land, and they will hold out for now. I don't think Oldham want any more to do with this.
Nado's just keeping an eye on that lower building entrance just to see if anyone comes out. He is running with a mini Uzi, so he's going to have the, pretty powerful short-range firepower coming out. I really love this as a kind of a strict spray and pray weapon. It's so good in just even hip fire spray as well. And Itty is going to rotate out away. They're going to say that they're in a man disadvantage in this situation. No way they want to take this fight without having clear information about where HW are, and they are going to back out of it. They're going to cut their losses, I think, given that they are doing so well on the table. You don't want to take an early exit.
Definitely something you want to be considering. The castle still occupied, not quite left yet. I think they managed to get themselves a snowmobile for Oldham Ops as well, so they might just try and evacuate down south and rotate in. Of course, they do have quite a way to go. 50 seconds left until the zone starts to shrink.
Yeah, and again, smaller maps, so the rotations are not so bad, you know, compared to some of the other bigger maps. You see ECG, Arctic, Young, and I think that is University of Stirling, all locked on the circle. They're all on the southeast side of the island. BR are going to rotate into the north side of that circle. UCL are miles away in port, but again, they have plenty of time to rotate now because we have a very small map, and if you can get a vehicle, quite easy to make your way across this map.
Depends where you're going through, of course. If you're going through a group of compounds that's all occupied, you're taking shots from all sides. So moving through these early stages of the rotation, relatively easy, I'd agree. But maybe if you get in later, those crunches can really start to come through. No one really going early. Oh, hang on a minute. Into the skies, Portsmouth. That's not a plane. That's a snowmobile, I'm afraid. You have to think twice about that.
Made a pretty 10 out of 10 landing, and they've all jumped off now. I think they actually ditched the snowmobile in midair. It looks like
bailed out. All right, fair enough. Style points around.
So KEKW are holding Castle. So they did rotate in from Castle to from Tolva to Castle. They're going to keep eyes on Johnny now, who are moving in as well. I don't think KEKW was set up to defend that push from Johnny, and Johnny are going to make their way into Castle themselves too.
Which is interesting. Given that you're in Castle, surely your entire objective is to hold Castle. So why aren't you set up for the push? Maybe they're more worried about UWL, and perhaps rightly so. In they come, over the way they go. They've already got one out, and Firecracker has to make the cover before he gets spotted. Finally, finds the foot of the tower. Will spot out Atom, goes for the spray, an easy knock there. Saint on the corner, though, might prove to be tricky. Will do just that, returns the knock in kind before they can get the confirm. Atom will stay alive for now. And a forward position from Firecracker might prove tricky, but Cheers Loves up in the window, looking down onto the rest of the fight. They've taken on Johnny on the back as well. A fight on two fronts. And now it's the 11th hour, the time they need to show up.
Siles, it's taken very low here. Cheers Love doing what he can. Hazard will find the flank coming up from the water. That's who Saint was trying to pin down, and now it's just Cheers Love and Hazard. They are the final two members of KEKW left. They did not get set up in Castle, and they were unfortunately caught out at the same time as other teams rotating in. So that Castle play that they went for did not work out for them. And Cheers Love now, with Hazard, are trying to do their best to pin UWL down, who have been so deadly in almost every fight that they've taken. UWL, if they were to knock out KEKW here, that would only further accelerate them into that first place spot, probably opening up a potential 100-point lead if they were to do well at the end of this Vikendi run.
And if we know anything about UWL, they normally do well. They normally stick together, and they normally get the work done. It's like Kingstonians are taking a little bit of a fight across the way against University of Kent. There's obviously the three-player squad currently sat in third place, a little bit ahead of them, but not outside of the realms of possibility of overtaking, should they take them down early. Same rules apply to the engagement with KEKW and UWL. You
can see Kingstonian just very carefully assessing the situation. They know they're in a good position in the table. They don't want to give away anything too easily, and actually now catching up with University of Kent, who haven't had, I mean, Miramar and Sandhawk, you could probably say, were not their best performances. Will maybe a little bit disappointed with their placements, but they are actually having to make that rotation now. They are going to have to either move south through Volnova, or they're going to have to go through that absolute quagmire that is Castle. And I think they're taking the very sensible decision to head down south through Dana Park Abbey and potentially then in through Volnova.
Given the volatility of the placement of these teams at the top of the table, I'm so surprised that we're seeing the two top teams in the tournament fight it out in Castle. I think that is a very bold statement to make, certainly on both of their parts, but both of them still left standing, as the great Elton John said. But he's maybe coming to the end of their tune, as two of the players from KEKW did get taken down.
Yeah, they still have one. I think actually they are just sending Hazard out here. Cheers Love is hidden below the spiral staircase, but Hazard is making a run for it with the swimming. He may get away with it as well. I don't think UWL are aware of this escape plan from Hazard, but it is just Cheers Love at the bottom of this spiral staircase, and I'm sure Cable is pretty aware of where he is. In fact, he's very aware of where he is.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll get the knock.
That was pretty much it. Just went for the pre-fire. Oh, no. Oh, he's standing over him. He can't get in there without crouching down, but will be able to get in. The pan kill comes through. Insult to injury added. consider it a grudge match from next time around.
However, Hazard escaped. Hazard did get out in the river, started swimming very early on, and KW's hopes for placement live on in this game through the survival instinct of Hazard diving into that water. Keeping an eye on Strathclyde Strikers. They are now locked in with ECG Senior, who's by himself. Again, ECG split up, split drop. Every time we see them, they're doing the same thing. And Senior now by himself, but BT Pro very well aware of where he is. Or at least he thinks.
Yeah, he's just scanning. He's just having a little bit of a goosey gander, seeing what's going on. But the nades up might just give away the game. Senior now definitely been located here. Oh, he's spotted the head. Will he be able to get the shot? Not too sure. Didn't come up on the kill feed yet. Kingstonian now playing around Castle. Seems like they're going to try and be the next contenders to the throne. Oh,
yeah, and you saw UWL. They actually got a knock. I don't know if they got the kill, but Kingstonian took a very risky bridge play, and it's the first time we've seen one of our top tier teams actually try and defend one of these choke points, and they lost a member, I think, Kingstonian. Yeah, Savage Son, you can see here, he's going to go down.
Yeah, not going to be happy with that one for them. 2 players now for Kingstonian, but they themselves spot out a rotation. It's Hazard, it's the KW player who stays alive, but TA not quite able to land a shot on the snowmobile. He will be able to get away by the skin of his teeth. There's Senior going down finally in the wings, and that will be them eliminated, I believe. So we continue.
Well, it's difficult to tell because ECG are always split up across the map. So even though you feel like you've got a singular kill as Portsmouth now, who they've not had a good run, and Strathclyde Strikers will pick up a couple of more kills and will knock Portsmouth out.
They ran straight into the firing line, and they paid the price for it. A nice little loot drop there coming in for the Strathclyde Strikers.
Yeah, so ECG, as you can see, are still alive. Stent on the southeast and DDG on the north. They split drop every time. I guess it's a tactic to try and limit how many of them can die at once. Because DDG is all the way on the northwest by himself, and it looks like Stent and another member that I can't quite see, Benja, they are by themselves in the southeast.
They're near the Snakes, though, or at least one of the players from Snakes. Strathclyde Strikers doing okay for now. 3 players alive. I think they've spotted out Hazard. Don't think that KW are going to make it too much further in. But looking at ECG's scores at the moment, they're playing 65 and 18. 65 placements, 18 kill points. So yeah, I'd say that split strategy, not really doing too well, although they are sat in 10th. Hazard just trying to eke it out as long as he can, maybe looking to climb up to 13th place, but the points won't matter. Another 6 points of damage being sent their way. He will get spotted out. Hazy, maybe just trying to go underwater to spot out anything he can. They haven't found him just yet. It's only a matter of time, though.
Yeah, Hazard will eventually go down here. He's doing his best to dive underwater. Obviously, you can't be shot while you're underwater. So you just dive in. As soon as you come up for breath, you've got to hope that they can't find that shot. And actually, we see Kingstonian fight back against Cable here. They get the knock.
Ooh. Yeah, but it's traded back pretty quickly. Saint now knows exactly where TA is. Sayal as well. They're looking for those sprays. Those angles need to be found for TA. He's only 1 player now against the full force of UWL. Managed to get 1, but really not too much more. Goes out wide. There's the spray, not quite able to be found just yet. The Molotov preventing them going up close, but he goes up high, and he falls down low. Saint able to clock it down, and that's 2 more kills for UWL, and the Kingstonians are wiped.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate situation, but it was a 2 versus 4 against the best team in the league. You were never going to come out on top in that situation. They get the knock on Cable, but as again, something that UWL are so good at doing is just covering their teammates' angles. Whenever someone goes down, they immediately flank, set up for the res, put suppressing fire down, or even trade back and kills. Impressive stuff from UWL, and you can see why they are indeed our top team. Even when they don't need to, they're smoking for the res, just to make sure that no one else is sneaky looking to third party it.
Yeah, I'm surprised, or well, maybe not surprised, but it is notable that no team's really playing central compounds on this situation. You can see there's so many little buildings there that they could be holding up in, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams playing edge in Vikendi. It's not really the strategy you want to be going for. The only team that's doing something vaguely sensible in terms of that sort of super top level meta is the University of Kent. They're playing just to the east of Cement Factory in a decent spot. They have open rotations. They have a lot of power here moving forwards.
Going to get an eyes on BR now. We haven't seen too much from these guys, but they look like they're going to go and keep eyes on HWU, who again they've been a little bit of a dark horse, a sleeper team. They sometimes come out well in team fights. However, they haven't been particularly impressive throughout the course of the games today often. So kind of placing top 5, but otherwise they've been moderately quiet in the team fight situations and the kills. But BR, again, also another team that we don't see too much of either. Really just Achilles had that hero moment, I believe, on Miramar, but apart from that, haven't seen too much from Achilles.
The thing that strikes me about UWL is how much they invest into keeping all 4 alive. This is a really solid idea. It's the idea of, you know, always having 4 men in the firefight is better than having 3 and getting a kill earlier on. Surviving later is much, much better, and with 4 players you do have a lot higher likelihood. So I'm glad to see that they are really just playing by the book, the 99% team that we love to see.
Yeah, and again, you'd expect that from them. Young, actually, a team that gets knocked out almost all the time in the early game. They're actually holding up in the top 12 right now. All members left alive. You can see, actually, Strathclyde Strikers have got positional eyes on UWL. And UWL could get caught off guard, maybe relying too much on the shore in this situation as a flank coverage, as the single remaining member of Old Up Ops now just flings his way into the UWL firing line.
They're taking a fight in the meantime with the Strathclyde Strikers, Arctic obviously in game, who only have 2 players alive, and they're full sending right now up into this cliff face. Arkshay gonna feel the pain there, get sprayed down on an open hillside, not too much doing there. Hazy now running as fast as he can, as fast as his little legs will carry him. How far will that be though? That's the question. UWL, they look like they're out for blood.
No, they are very, very, very good at just essentially punishing an initial knock. They take the knock and then they leap. They try and get a lockdown so the res can't happen, and they caught out the remainder of the Strathclyde Strikers out in the open. Now it is literally just Hazy by himself, and he will back off, although it looks like UWL are hunting for him. They want to finish that squad off, increase their placements, and take out one of the relatively close competitors in terms of standings to them, and Hazy will just back out here. And UWL may not be able to find him, although they are chasing down.
They might be looking for him. They know that there's a straggler, and they know he can't be too far away. You don't hold these hills as 3 with someone off in the distance, really. If they be keeping track of the kill feed, as you should be doing, they'll know. And not only that, they'll know that they didn't get the full kill on their last knock onto the Arctic squad. So we'll see what they're able to do, but they might just live and let live at this stage. Use that snake to their advantage and see if he runs into any other teams to give them a little bit of an early warning system.
NATO, you can see on the south of the circle, ECG also there. No one really getting in range of Kent, who have got that central compound, although Will has actually broken off to take a compound by himself. He's essentially left a couple of his teammates out by Cement Factory as Will's moved a little bit further towards the center of the circle here. Looks like UWL are going to gear up. They're going to get in their vehicles once more and start to rotate in themselves. Young actually start taking some shots, I saw. Can't work out at who. But still a lot of teams slowly coalescing on both south and north sides of the circle.
ECG's strategy might just work out for them here. You can see Diddy G just completely alone. No one really challenging him at all. That northern crunch can come through and be pretty deadly. The eastern one as well. And the south side, there's 4 teams over there. So we've really got 3 hotspots at the moment, but the north one pops off first, it seems, with HWU really coming under the into the crunch with UCL and BR as well around them in the middle. Nano, though, will go down first, and HWU atop the hill inside the zone as well. We'll be able to get away with it. Cheeky little ghillie suit there in play for them, but I think that's the tan one, not the white one, which makes it a little bit less useful on Vikendi.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I will say is HWU are out in the open, so if UCL, or I think that's Johnny and friends over a little bit further north, wanted to try and take a pop shot, you know, it wouldn't be too difficult to do so. NATO now by himself. I think he's locked in by a couple of the Young squad members, and actually he's being left alone. Young immediately reacting to the circle, not bothered about NATO. who pops off.
He pulls out his pistol for some reason instead of his G36. Come on, you can do better than that. Although it looks like Goza is pretty low, maybe looking to heal, peeks out wide, goes for the shots, but no, there's no one there. One of the Snake players as well is around, but there's the knock for Nado. He has plenty of health. The circle early enough that he will be able to make it in if he moves quickly, if he plays it right. UWL still 4 strong. They're watching out to the blue. There's no one pushing on them from there, but there's a player ahead of them. I believe that's actually, yeah, one of the Johnny players as well. At the moment, they are just trying to sneak through the cracks, so we'll see how well they're able to do that.
Again, a couple of these team strategies tend to be separate and lay low and hope that no one finds you. A little bit like a game of a twisted hide and seek for some of the better teams. And Malek there from Johnny and Friends, he is just kind of chilling. Proned in a brush, I think.
This northern side starting to clear out, but BR, they are wrapping around. They're wrapping around the edge to try and open up some space for themselves. Taking control of this compound, they can strike out into the middle around the base of the hill to their west, or to their right as their direction of travel goes. But HWU, they're getting knocked. They're getting punished around the bottom of this hill. They took a knock from a sniper earlier on. Oh, I think he spotted him. Oh, Uzi, take it very low. Not quite able to finish it. Just another 2 shots would have done it. But Kroll Cool stays a little bit too cool. Unfortunately, doesn't finish it off.
Achilles now, he's the deadly man for BR. He's going to wrap round to the south side of this engage, get eyes on UCL, but also more importantly, try and look for a flank onto the HWU squad members. Clade now out in the open. Achilles has got some shots to take.
They can push up to this hill foot and to the cliff face. They might find a little bit of respite, but if they get peeked on, they're pretty much done for. They're scuppered, but the peak's not just there yet. BR, they hold their own. UCL rotating around the edge. They will get spotted out. Achilles, don't know if he's seen the player behind the rock, but is going to back it out. They do have to move as well. And the team over to their east is moving once more. That's HWU. They're coming into the fight now. The circle really not giving them the most time to play with.
They are pinning UCL down, and I think Achilles should be able to pick up the final kill here. He'll knock one. His teammate's just gonna let him die. Achilles is going to try and go for the confirmed kill. HWU is literally wrapped around the back of BR right now, and this is an absolute mess, John.
Yeah, they haven't been able to do it, though. Unfortunately, they do get taken down. 9 teams remain. Up they go, BR, but there's a player from UCL. 1 goes down, 2 gets knocked, and it's all down to AZMT, but he's finally able to close it down. The circle will push them plenty of distance forwards. He might have done enough for the rest of UCL to be able to get through. AZMT, you can see the call comes out to just move off, leave them alone, leave them to die, as Ghost is now the last remaining player for UCL. Has to get out of the blue zone, but will not be able to do it. As Cool takes him down, BR survive to fight once again, but in goes the fight with Arctic, and they fall as well.
Yeah, UWL finding that engage in the meantime whilst all of this was going on. And it is still University of Kent in the central compounds, untouched. University of Stirling wrapping round to the west-hand side. DDG and ECG still in the fight by separating out, and 1 member of Young remains available too. Again, though, our 99%ers, UWL, are in the running for another good finish here at the end of day 4.
Finally, we tune in with University of Kent. This is the only team that has really been playing that top-level meta of move central, move early. They've done it. They've given themselves so much power. They're going to have all of their resources. You can see Will's armor is on full. They're going to be so happy with their spot right now. They're already up in 6th. They might only have 2 kills, but there's still... 17 minus 3, 14 kills on the board for them if they were to get everyone. Maybe not super likely, but you know, they could get a solid 8, a solid 7, and with a chicken dinner, that is a very good game.
A lot of their team, or rather competitors, have been knocked out as well. So you've got to remember that people like KEKW and Oldham Ops, they're already gone. And so this is a good opportunity for Kent to really surpass. And they see UWL getting into a firefight already.
Yeah, AZMT will fall down. That's the second to last player for BR. They still have 1 left live and kicking, but UWL now have the northeastern side of the circle.
They do indeed. And UWL again, they are high on kills. They're going to smoke to allow them to make another rotation into the circle here. And they are looking like another top 3 potential finish. They've got every member left alive. 1 member of BR, Krolkul, kept himself to himself, just keeping eyes on the UWL squad, as is Will, actually. Will trying to catch them on rotation here.
They are, Will and the rest of his squad from Kent are down on that southeastern side of the circle. You can see ECG around the back. The sneaky little snakes from this game. They are pretending to be Secret Agent Cody Banks, a lot of them. And they are going to see what they can do. 6th place already, so not a terrible finish for them so far. But if they take the fight with the University of Kent, they might find out that it's not everything to be able to get late in the circles.
Well, ECG are now locked into that fight, or at least near a fight with Kent. Will is going to try and catch them off guard as Benji moves around.
He's going to call it out. His teammates respond, but he's instantly knocked. Okay, Benji takes out the main fraggot for University of Kent, and now all is up for grabs as they might be able to take control of this compound. Sleeper falls down, and now it's just one player alive for Kent. It's Ben Usher. Will he be able to hold it down? Has the double barrel. They haven't scoped him out just yet, but it looks like ECG might have just been able to do the work. They've confirmed it, and as Will already fallen, Sleeper falls as well, so now the tables are turned. And my, what a turn up for the books.
Yeah, absolutely. ECG counting them out against University of Kent. Now, there is still one member of University of Kent left going. UWL Cable actually now locked into a fight with Sterling as they are looking for their flank of their own. This is a bit all over the place right now as they're in the central circle.
There were some Kar 98 shots that did land on through, but Cable, he's stuttering around just a little bit, but we'll be able to get behind the wall eventually, and UWL down to 3 as Saint has fallen. They have the northern side control of this circle, and looking out south, there's really not too many more buildings to be playing with, not much cover either. As University of Sterling looking to push on forwards, the full force of 4 has to try and come up big here.
Sterling have had some pretty up and down games through tonight. We have 4 teams left in it. ECG, University of Sterling, UWL, and one other remaining team. It might be BR. I think it might even just be Krolkul on the outside of the circle here. No, it's Young. It's the Young boys. They're in the top 4 for once in their life. They've got one member left alive.
They've managed to... This might be... their highest scoring game so far. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. But ECG still going, as you say. The young boys trying to snake it around. Still full HP there, so we'll see what they're able to do. Sterling now engaged in maybe a little bit of a fight with one of the other ECG players. The Bush providing all the cover he needs for now, but he'll have to move should the time come. The zone is going to push him in.
Yeah, and so you can see it really is just a 2-horse race at this point in time. ECG, although ECG have got a couple of members left in, they actually got 3. I didn't realize they actually got 3 members left alive. They're now going to sort of focus on Young, and I think they're going to get knocked out here as ECG lock them up on the south side of the circle. And then it'll be a 3-horse race with just the University of Sterling, UWL, and ECG left to go.
We'll see where those pincers can come through as Young does get eliminated. 3 teams now, and it is a 3v3v4. Quite the group actually as well moving forwards. Oh, I don't know if DigiG spotted out Wang hiding behind the tree there, but he's going to push up, and I think Hazard's going to spot him out as well. Here comes the spray. The M4 is there. Will he be able to hit the shots? Yes, he will. The headshot to finish it out. That's DigiG going down. So 1 less player for ECG. And now they are 2 on the southeast side, but the circle moves in their favor. That might just be what they needed, as UWL and Sterling will have to compete, but a nice shot from Cable lands onto Wang, gets the knock as well. Now 2 players alive for them. He's trying to strafe around the edge of the tree, but you just want to stay put there, unfortunately for them. But the wall has to be breached. UWL have to move too.
Yeah, and I think for UWL, they're in a great spot because it's Sterling and ECG matching up on the south side of the circle. All they need to do is be patient, pick their moment, and try and find that third-party entrance to a fight that is almost certainly going to break out between ECG and University of Sterling. Sile, knock on 10, waiting for that to happen. He's looking to go aggressive here and look for a play that puts them into a dominant position, maybe looking to take all 4 kills from this scenario.
Taking control of this hillside, exactly what they need to do, and Stent will know about it. Sayal playing front man. Easy frags coming through. Will spotted out on the Benji. Goes for the drop shot. Beautiful spray with a Groza. Finds 2 on the clear, and now it's just 2 players from Sterling standing in their way. 3 players from UWL as they give over lead to, it looks like Cable, as he's going to get the first frag. The spray down to confirm, but Hazard chimes in from the sidelines. They've spotted it out, and it is UWL to close it down. The final chicken dinner goes their way, and the top dogs will come out victorious in the final game of tonight.
Yeah, UWL, they finally secured that first place spot. Brilliant stuff from our top team, and it almost certainly opened up the lead to even further than it was before. I'm sure it'll be a plus 100 point lead over KEKW now as well. What can you say? They are by far and away the best team that we have in this competition. A little bit unlucky for Will there. He got a little bit too confident in his spray patterns versus ECG, or confident in his ability to just fire it out, and unfortunately caught off guard by what was an excellent performance from ECG overall. But it is UWL who once again find that really impressive finish and kill score to put themselves up further and further in the standings.
Yeah, I mean, no one really can catch them at this point. I think there's only 4 games left to play, and with a gap of what is around 100, I think over 100. Look at that.
Over 100. It's 119.
119, goodness me. Not really going to be able to catch that. That's a profit of what, 100, that's like 24 extra points per game over University of West London. More than that, actually. That's way more than that. That's 30, 35 points, which is more than you normally get in a chicken dinner game. So really very unlikely. Pretty much guaranteed that they are going to be finishing out in the top spot. Looking further down, continuing to be very, very consistent. Kingstonian stay in 5th. But that second place spot is really where the story is for me, Excound.
I agree.
209 to 197.
There's like, 12 points between 4th and 2nd right now. A couple of good or bad maps. And that'll be it. You essentially could be massive swaps between PUBG Mobile, KEKW, Kent, and Oldham Ops, all of whom have had their moments today. I mean, Erengel was good for University of Kent. I would say the Oldham Ops absolutely obviously popped off on the on Sandhawk, and I think University PUBG Mobile KEKW have had some pretty solid performances throughout the day. So excellent contest for second place. I think realistically at this point we have to confirm that University of West London are nigh on uncatchable. They will be likely taking out first place from the campus championships. But again, there's a big fight for the second place here, John, which is going to be very interesting to see next week, which I believe we'll be seeing you again next week. You'll be coming back to do some more casting.
Yeah, see, I believe so. Should opportunity permitting, we'll be back next week, and I look forward to seeing how these teams turn out. It's going to be good fun. I've enjoyed. Obviously, I used to work a lot in the university scene back a couple of years ago, so it's really good to see. Still going very strong. Still plenty of support for it, so it's nice.
There's loads of different people involved in university scene now, and NSC are doing a great job providing lots of different and unique style tournaments. This is, I think, one of the first mobile tournaments that we've had, for the university scene. So it's really, really exciting to see as mobile esports continues to grow and go from strength to strength. It's really fantastic that NSC have put their foot in and said that PUBG Mobile is one that they're going to try and stake their claim to. And I think it's been a really fun tournament to watch, even from a spectator standpoint. I've really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next week. And speaking of next week, we will see you then. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and see you soon.